ABC Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
We come back to Canton, Ohio, and John, I had the great pleasure during the NBA season to work with Michelle Tafoya, who, for my money, is already in the Reporters Hall of Fame, and now she'll be with us on Monday Night Football. So, Michelle, welcome to the family.
You are way too generous, Al, but thank you. It is an absolute privilege to be joining you and Al, and maybe the only people more excited than the three of us about the start of the season are the Redskin fans. As you said earlier, Al, they are elated about the return of Joe Gibbs. I spoke with Gibbs when he arrived here earlier this evening, and I asked him about his mindset as he gets ready to coach his first NFL game in 12 years.
Well, I said I'm probably more nervous than the players are. It's been a long time, but it's fun being back here in Canton. Certainly being inducted here was a big deal for me and my family, and having Pat here and JD, Coy, Melissa, Heather. All of us enjoyed it. It was fun. Meant a lot to me. I thought it was probably closing the last chapter on my football life. It is fun being back here. Obviously, like I said, I'll probably be a little uptight here to see how this goes, the first game, but it's fun and challenging.
Since you've been gone, the NFL has adopted a salary cap, free agency, a lot of other changes. Football-wise, what do you think the biggest difference is since you've been gone?
The way you acquire talent, I also think on the field, the defenses are much more forceful. Nobody's sitting back and reading anything. They're all coming after you, so it's changed the way the offenses look at things. So there's been a lot of changes, and it's a big learning curve for me, and we got to see how we do here.
Well, Al, certainly Redskin fans are waiting with bated breath, and this may be the most popular second-term administration, Al, in the history of Washington.
I think Redskin fans, Michelle, hope he serves as long as FDR. About 4 terms would be maybe just enough for Joe.
Right, and Joe Gibbs coming back is not only good for Washington, D.C. and the Redskins, his coming back is good for the entire NFL.
So here he is, Joe Gibbs, a scene that we thought we would never see again. Adrian Medice back to receive the kick from John Hall, and the season begins with the ball being blown off the tee. There's a little bit of a front coming in, though they expect no rain, and the wind at about 16 to 20 miles per hour.
I kind of remember you saying that same thing last year at this time.
But no thunderstorms tonight, because last year's game was stopped in the 3rd quarter. Kickoff underway, preseason underway, and Medice, a wide receiver by trade, takes it from the goal line all the way back out to the 34-yard line. And let's take a look now at the Denver Broncos. Jake Plummer, in his 2nd season, came over after he had begun his career with the Arizona Cardinals, had a good year, battled a couple of injuries. Quentin Griffin and Reuben Drones in the backfield, and we'll discuss that situation. Smith and Lilly are outside. Byron Chamberlain is the tight end. Shannon Sharp has retired. Lepsis moves to left tackle. He was a right tackle. Nayland, perennial Pro Bowler. Neal, outstanding. And George Foster, last year, who was inactive almost every game, is the right tackle. A little screen pass set up for Quentin Griffin, and Griffin's knee goes down, and they'll stop it at the 41-yard line, and we have a penalty. Ed Hockley is the referee tonight.
Yeah, the Denver Broncos are really going to miss Clinton Portis, but this Quentin Griffin is something special, I'll tell you.
Offense number 70, 10-yard penalty enforced from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
You know, John, you look at a play like that, and people have talked about being able to plug in a running back, and that's why they could get rid of Portis. I mean, that's the same kind of play they would have run with Portis in the backfield.
Yeah, and I was talking to Jake Plummer about that play. It was a screen pass, and, you know, Griffin's only 5'7", and that's stretching him out. He may even be shorter than that, and he's tough for the defensive guys to see. You know, the linebackers will say, you know, he gets behind that line, you can't see him, but Jake Plummer was saying, you know, it's the same thing on those screen passes. Sometimes you go back there to throw the screen pass, and you look out there, and you can't find a little guy.
That holding call was on the guard, Ben Hamilton. One of the questions about Griffin is, can he hold up? Can he be the kind of back who can carry the ball at his size and weight? As Griffin takes it again, just back to the line of scrimmage. Can he carry it 20 to 25 times a game? The Redskin defense, and they have to get better this year. Up short, Griffin comes over from the Giants. Salavea and Ronaldo Wynn are up front. The linebackers are LeVar Arrington, who's terrific. The veteran Kevin Mitchell in the middle, and Marcus Washington comes over from the Colts. Then Fred Smoot, Lott, Bowen, and Springs. With Bailey gone, Smoot becomes the guy who gets locked on the opposition's top receiver. Springs, good career, though injury-riddled at Seattle recently. Second down and 21 from the 22-yard line. Plummer gets it away over the middle, and it's caught by Griffin. So Griffin with 2 runs and a catch, and that takes it out to the 28-yard line.
You know, one of the things Mike Shanahan was saying the other day about Jake Plummer, that he wants to work on him on that, just a drop back passing. He said, you know, the play action pass, the bootleg, his sprinting out and rolling out, he's excellent. He said if he needs any work, it's just dropping back, staying in the pocket, and throwing the ball quickly like he just did on that last play.
John Elway, of course, is here, and we'll talk to John in the second quarter tonight. An extended interview with him during the game. Third down and 16 from the 28-yard line. There's a drop back again, but now Plummer has to scramble because of the pressure from inside, and the pass is picked off by Sean Springs. So the newly acquired Springs, who is a kid who grew up in the D.C. area and then was a very high draft choice for Seattle, makes his Redskin debut with a pick here in Canton.
I'll tell you, first of all, Jake Plummer got some pressure from Wynn, and you're going to see that. Then that's going to force him out of the pocket, and he comes out here to the left side. Sean Springs is going to come all the way across the field. See him coming there? Now watch him lay out, number 24. He really laid out to extend to catch that ball. It's a heck of an interception.
Now the Redskins at the 40-yard line. 2 minutes into the game. Mark Brunell, the longtime Jacksonville Jaguar, picked up in the offseason as the quarterback, and the left-handed QB hands the ball off to Clinton Portis. So Mark Brunell comes in. There's a battle for the number 1 spot. Most expect Brunell to start the season, though Patrick Ramsey was their starter last year. Portis, Kozlowski in the backfield. Kozlowski the H-back, Gardner and Coles outside, and Rasby is the tight end. You have to have an H-back with Joe Gibbs, and then Samuels, Dockery, Friedman, Jones, and Jansen, the tackles in particular, very good up front.
You have to have an H-back, and you have to run the counter tray, and we're going to see a lot of both of them tonight.
Mike Sellers is now the H-back. A second down and 7 from the 37-yard line. Portis runs into his own man, runs into Gardner on his way back to the line of scrimmage. Now the Bronco defense, which they hope will be a lot better this year. Johnson, Fonafehi, Price, and Marco Coleman up front. Price is playing inside tonight. Sprague, Wilson, and Sykes are the linebackers with Herndon. John Lynch comes over from Tampa. Kanoy Kennedy, the strong safety, and of course the big man, the big acquisition, Champ Bailey. Chad Morton now comes into the game on 3rd down and 7. He stays in the block, and Brunell, his first pass to Rod Gardner is complete, and Gardner ran a perfect route, knew exactly where he had to go for the first down, and gets there.
Brunell's pass. You know, you think you're going to stay away from Champ Bailey, and you say he's a shutdown corner. So the Redskins, again, with a left-handed quarterback, not only roll out, but they roll out to the right. And you see Rod Gardner there work on Champ Bailey. He gets him up the field, and then the throw right here just brings him back. So Gardner can come back and make that catch for the first down.
At the 29-yard line, after the early Sean Springs interception. First units in for each team, but not for long. And this is Clinton Portis. In a game like this, John, as we look at Clinton Portis getting up, the starters will play, as the coaches say, a series. They normally say maybe a quarter, but it turns out to be about 2/3 of the quarter.
Yeah, it depends on which starter you're talking about. And I think if you're talking about Clinton Portis, and as Joe Gibbs told us last night, he's going to run the ball so much his tongue's going to be dragging during this regular season. He doesn't want to run him a lot in the preseason, and specifically not a lot here tonight.
Second down and 9 from the 28-yard line. Portis to the outside, and the Denver Broncos have seen a lot of that through the years as he knifes his way for a nice gain finally taken down by Kenoy Kennedy, 2 yards shy of a first down.
You know, and that's what a veteran quarterback like Mark Brunell can do. He gets up there and he calls an audible, and he was going to go to the left or someplace else, and he brought the ball back to this guy, Clinton Portis. And you see the burst he has. I mean, he can make all the moves you have to as a running back, but in addition to that, he can be one of the fastest guys in all NFL.
Bronco defense stringing it out along the line. 9 men along the line of scrimmage, and Brunell goes to the end zone, and the pass intended for Lavernius Coles is incomplete, and there's no flag. And we'll begin to talk too about the rules change this year that a lot of people think will lead to a lot more penalties.
You know, isn't it something we see Champ Bailey out here man to man? Now, again, one of the rules is you can't touch the guy after 5 yards. Now, Champ Bailey right there is just getting a position. I think it's interesting that they go for the big one, they take a shot, and they take it on Champ Bailey.
Now, John Hall, who came over from the Jets and had a good year for the Skins last year, 39-yard attempt to try to give Washington the lead, and he is perfect. So Joe Gibbs' first drive back since 1992 results in a field goal, and the Redskins lead the Broncos 3-0 in Canton. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Budweiser. Enjoy a cold, fresh Budweiser because fresh beer tastes better. Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world. And Honey Nut Cheerios, be happy, be healthy. Blimp tonight, transmitting in HD. Goodyear Blimp hovering high above Fawcett Stadium in Canton, Ohio. Barrel Man. Well, what's a Denver Bronco game without Barrel Man? And I would think if there's a crowd favorite tonight, it would be the Broncos, because so many people came in from Colorado to watch John Elway get enshrined yesterday. Adrian Medice, who had a good run back on the opening kickoff, with another one here, but there's a flag that'll bring it back, and then another one comes in as he is tackled up at the 33-yard line.
You know, talking about Barrel Man, they have a Hall of Fan here, or a Fan Hall of Fame, or a Hall of Fan, or whatever they call it, something like that. But anyway, Barrel Man's in it.
He should be. I mean, it's one thing to dress like that when it's 75 degrees, but we've seen him in Mile High and in Vesco and in a different sort of environment.
There were 2 fouls by the receiving team on the play. The Eagle block in the back, number 84, that penalty is declined. There was also holding, number 65, that's enforced 10 yards from the spot of the foul, first down.
Broncos get pushed back. First quarter in Canton, Ohio. 3-0 Redskins. Gibbs is back. Hogs are back. Joe Bugle, who coached the offensive line during the glory years, is also back.
You know, he named his offensive line when he was here before the Hogs, and his offensive line now is called them dirtbags.
John Jansen being the lead dirtbag. Plummer gets it away, and it's caught by Ruben Drones, and Drones will get a first down as he's taken out of bounds up at the 31-yard line. So Plummer was under pressure by Marcus Washington, gets it away, and it's a gain of 19 yards.
And these are the types of things that Jake Plummer does so well. You know, that when you flush him out, and this is the second time that he's being flushed out or having to move, you see he's going to come on a bootleg, but he had to stop, pull up short, and make that throw to Ruben Drones. He can make all the throws that he has to on the run.
Plummer last year missing some time, shoulder and foot injuries. There were 1 and 3 in games he didn't start. There's a flag here. Quentin Griffin gets tackled.
Quentin Griffin, the ball carrier.
Ed Hockley, ironically, was making his Monday night debut as a referee when Joe Gibbs coached his last Monday night game. And his mic worked better that night. Back in 1992. We think it was on Ben Hamilton. That would be his second. There's Jake Plummer's career numbers as an Arizona Cardinal coming out of Arizona State with a passer rating of just 69. And then last year with the Broncos, you see that quarterback rating of 91. So he improved in all areas.
And the big area he improved, he had a better team. And I think that's the thing. And I've always said that, you know, a good coach, a good system, and a good running back is the best friend of a quarterback. And then he had Clinton Portis, who was gaining, what, over 1,500 yards last year.
In each of his first 2 seasons, 1st and 20. We've got jumping up front, probably a false start. The funny thing is, we've already had 4 or 5 penalties in the game, John, but all of the focus will be on what's being called the point of emphasis.
Offside, defense, number 97, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That's Ronaldo Wynn, and it'll be very fascinating to see how this illegal contact beyond the 5-yard zone plays out.
Right, it's going to change the whole game. It's going to take something away from the defense, and it's really going to add to the offense, because if they call it, and they keep calling it all year, where the defender cannot touch a receiver after he gets up 5 yards, guys like Marvin Harrison are going to catch 300 balls.
1st and 15. Receivers love it. Defensive backs, of course, hate it. Plummer throws, caught up at the 31-yard line by Darius Watts. They love this kid, a rookie out of Marshall. But, you know, John, through the years, we've seen it where they say, you know what, we're really going to emphasize this. We're really going to call it. And normally they don't. But this year, when we met with the officials, they said, you know what, we are going to call everything.
Yeah, and they have to not only call it now in the preseason, but they have to call it in the regular season, and they have to call it in the playoffs, because where it really got bad last year was in the playoffs. It started getting worse at the end of the season, defensive holding, and then into the playoffs, and then, you know, all the way to the Super Bowl.
There's no question those 2 championship games, I think, really precipitated this rule, or at least the enforcement of this rule. Plummer rolling on 2nd down and 6 and throwing on the run, and that's dropped. Darius Watts, just after you say they love this kid, Plummer puts it right in his hands, and he drops it, 3rd and 6.
Yeah, the old bootleg put it right in his face, I think. You know, we're talking about the rules of emphasis. And you see, here's what they were doing last year. Now, look, 5 yards. You see, well beyond 5 yards, they're still hitting and grabbing and holding, doing all that stuff. And these were not called. You see, again, the 5 yards, and then you see what happens after that. That's what they were doing a year ago. That's what they're trying to eliminate. Up until 5 yards, you can bump them, you can chuck them. But after 5 yards, you have to get off. You can't touch them.
3rd down and 6 from the 34-yard line. And on the move and on the run goes Quentin Griffin to the 39-yard line. He's 5'7", 195, 2nd year. Played at Oklahoma. He was a 4th-round draft choice. And the Broncos through the years, Terrell Davis picked in the 6th spot. Other low draft choices have turned out to be gems.
I'll tell you, and he has great moves on moves, but watch Ben Hamilton, the left guard here. See, he's going to get that block right there. In fact, the Redskins were going to come on a blitz. They catch him on the blitz, and Griffin just got in there, just delayed just enough, and then broke off it. I'll tell you, he is something. I watched him in practice the other day, and he goes a speed about a half a beat faster than anyone else.
Griffin again. A lot of room to the outside. Big gain again, tackled by Matt Bowen. Talking about those low draft choices, Terrell Davis, 6th-round pick. You look at Tom Nalen, 11th year out of Boston College, picked in the 7th round.
You know, again, you see Quentin Griffin, he's so short that he can get in behind his block and then get down, and the defense can't see him, and then he makes those cuts on cuts. I'm not going to say Barry Sanders, but he has those kinds of moves, and he makes guys miss like Barry Sanders does. I don't mean to say that.
Especially with Barry in the building. We'll talk to him in the 3rd quarter. Plummer to the end zone and out of the end zone, as the coverage was very good by Fred Smoot on Darius Watts. And there is Terrell Davis, who'll be working some preseason games for the NFL Network this year. And there's a guy who clearly was on his way to enshrinement here in Canton when his career was cut short.
Well, you know, he was a heck of a running back, and he was a guy that the Denver Broncos needed. Remember, they'd get to those Super Bowls and they wouldn't win, and they'd say John Elway can't win a Super Bowl. John Elway could win anything, but he really didn't until he got Terrell Davis in a running game.
Now Mike Anderson comes into the game, and he stays in the block, and then they get it to him on a play that is broken up by the former New York Giant, Cornelius Griffin. So nothing happening for Plummer here. It'll be 3rd down and long.
And Mike Anderson has moved back to tailback with Clinton Portis going on. You remember they moved Mike Anderson to fullback. And I was looking at him a year ago. He started to look like a fullback. He got a little dumpy, you know, put on a little weight. And then I saw him practice the other day, and I said, he's looking like a tailback again. He's looking longer and leaner. And Mike Shanahan said he called him in and said, no more fullback. You are going to be a tailback.
And you can't be a dumpy tailback.
No.
Quentin Griffin is now back in the game on 3rd and 14, and they swing it out to him, and he breaks a tackle just for the moment, then goes down, but that contact and his knee going down at the 21 ends the play there. Marcus Washington makes the tackle, and now Denver will come in to try a three-pointer to tie the game up.
You know, Mike Shanahan was saying last night that he would like Quentin Griffin probably to be the starter and handle the ball 20 to 22 times a game, and then Mike Anderson to come in and handle it 8 to 10 times a game. Again, that's a perfect world. I don't know that Griffin is up, as you mentioned earlier, to 20, 22 times a game.
This will be a 39-yard attempt, and the venerable Jason Elam is back. And if a place kicker in the NFL, a current one, ever gets enshrined in Canton, it's going to probably be that guy. He's going to come that close and would join Jan Stenerud as the only such place kickers. Our next preseason telecast 2 weeks from tonight will be in Kansas City as the Rams take on the Chiefs. Battle of Missouri on August 23rd. ESPN has action for you coming up this Thursday. The Falcons against the Ravens. Mike and Nora will kick off for Denver. You know, I'm just thinking about place kickers. Maybe Jason Elam gets in. Don't forget Morton Anderson, and we're going to see him in Kansas City in 2 weeks. He's 44. And then there's also Gary Anderson, another guy who could wind up in the Hall of Fame, as Chad Morton brings that one back to the 27-yard line. One tick under 5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. The game tied 3-3. I'm going to start to meet the new enshrinees, and we'll begin when we come back with the great offensive tackle, Bob Brown.
I'd like to thank my family, whose support was absolutely necessary for me to reach this most magnificent moment in time. I'd like to thank my mom and dad for the great gene pool that they provided.
Bob Brown, who grew up in Cleveland, and Jayshon Sykes, who's a starting linebacker for the Broncos, in on special teams, and he is just now getting up. And of course, that's the big downside of preseason. You lose guys.
Right, and he was a guy that came in last year. Remember when John Mobley and Ian Gold got hurt? It was Spragan and Sykes that came in and played very, very well.
Terry Pierce replaces him. Washington begins this drive from the 27-yard line. Long count by Brunell, and then he heaves it out of bounds. Second down. Well, we heard from Bob Brown, his induction speech yesterday. We'll hear from him again right now with Michelle Tafoya. Michelle.
Yeah, imagine taking an offensive lineman with the second pick in the NFL draft. Denver took him with the #1 overall pick in the AFL draft. Bob Brown, congratulations. Every description of you is relentless, fierce. He played offensive line like he was a defensive lineman. How did you acquire that approach to the game?
Well, I've always had a lot of intensity, and I just figured that if I'm pounding away on a guy, I'm going to slow him down during the course of the game, and so that was my primary game plan, and that was my way to attack.
You know, when you look at your credentials, 6 Pro Bowls, you were named to the all-decade team in the 1960s, and here it is years later. Why do you think it took so long for you to get to the Hall of Fame?
Maybe because I played on 3 different teams, and there was really no one advocating for me. But my theory at this point is better late than never.
So 26 years later, you'll take it.
Absolutely. It gave me a chance to hear my son introduce me.
Which was wonderful, and it was great to see you inducted. Congratulations. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Let's send it back up to you, Al.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And John, you, of course, know Bob Brown intimately.
Yes, I do. I coached Bob Brown, and he brought, you know, he talked about that toughness, and he not only brought that himself, but he brought that to our whole offensive line and indirectly to our whole team.
3rd and 9, little screen to Chad Morton, and he stopped a couple of yards shy of the first down. Bob Brown, and Michelle is right. I mean, you think about him, and that's what you hear, just relentless and tough. And it took 31 years, though, after retirement, for him to finally get to Canton.
You see how he waited for that shot, and he said when he could get that knockout punch, the guy wouldn't come back for a quarter. He said if he gets him in the first quarter, he won't see the guy again until the second quarter.
Trevor Price is the injured Bronco here. John, we just figured it out. You've now coached 10 guys who are in the Hall of Fame. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny. At the time, you think, geez, we have good players, we have a good team, but then you think, well, it's ours. That's why we think it's good. But then you look all these years back, and you were really blessed to have not only the best players at the time, but some of the best players that ever played the game.
Who should be 11? Is there somebody that you can think of off the top of your head right now who you coached, who's not here?
Well, you know,
be here?
You were talking earlier about, you know, kickers. I think there's probably a number, but I think Ray Guy. You know, I mean, there is a kicker. Jan Stenerud is in there. There's not a punter yet. And I think when they get to the punters, you know, they're going to have to go to a Ray Guy.
Well, right now, Trevor Price is down, and also for the Redskins, John Jansen is down. So a couple of very key linemen are both, well, in one case, Jansen being assisted off the field, and there was Price beginning to hop and going down, and he's still down on the field, reaching for the back of his knee.
And those are two of the top guys. I mean, Trevor Price is definitely the best defensive lineman on the Denver Broncos, and say John Jansen is either first or second best offensive lineman on the Redskins. So we're not just talking about two guys here that went off the field at the same time. We're talking about two top players.
Well, that's a good sight from Mike Shanahan, defensive coordinator Larry Coyer, and a smile accompanies his little walk off the field as well.
Anytime a player laughs, he's okay.
So on fourth down now, Tom Tupa to punt, and that's Triandos Luke, who's a rookie, trying to win a job as a wide receiver. He's been pretty impressive in camp thus far. Booming kick by Tupa. Luke from the 14-yard line brings it back out to the 25-yard line with 3.5 minutes to play now in the opening period. Opening game of the preseason 2004 schedule in Canton, Ohio, tied at 3. As mentioned before, a month from tonight, the season opens on a Thursday night. We'll be there in Foxborough, Massachusetts, Indianapolis, at New England. An hour before kickoff, the NFL opening kickoff show will get us underway right here on ABC, September 9th. Into the game now comes Danny Cannell as Jake Plummer is finished for the night. His first pass is an impressive one, and he throws it to the tight end Byron Chamberlain, one of the guys who will be replacing the retired Shannon Sharp. And so Plummer done for the night. He was 5 of 8 for 34 yards. And Cannell fighting to hold on to that number 2 spot is right on the money here.
And that's that old seam pass that we see so many years that Shannon Sharp would run. You just run right down that seam, and the pass is going to be thrown over the linebackers and in front of the defensive backs.
From the Washington 49-yard line, Cannell under pressure, going deep, contact made, and there's your first flag for the new violation, even though I think even in the old days, i.e. last year, they might have still called it anyway, and that's Adi Jamo who got his hands on Adrian Medice.
You know, Adrian Medice was the guy that they liked a year ago. I mean, he was the wide receiver, and this year the guy they're talking about is Darius Watts, and then the other guy is Triandos Luke. So every year they seem to have a wide receiver that they really like that's going to be the guy. But it's always Rod Smith, and it's been McCaffrey and Shannon Sharp. They've never gotten the guy to play.
Defense. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
Let's see how much contact is made here.
Well, there's not a lot of contact. You see, it's going to be a double move, and it's just that much. You see, when he throws that right arm in there, that's what they call an arm bar. And as you said, that would have been illegal. They would have called that one a year ago. Because that's what really stopped him from going. He got the out, and then he was going on the up off the out, and that arm bar stopped him from going up.
So that was pass interference and not illegal contact at the 29-yard line now. They have Griffin back into the game after the 20-yard penalty, and he's popped by Kevin Mitchell.
The ball carrier,
And we're talking about the rules and the emphasis, and we see that again, after 5 yards, the first 5 yards you can hit the guy. After 5 yards, you can't do this. You can't touch him after 5 yards. You can't keep him from going. Now, if he runs into you, of course there can be contact. But if he tries to avoid like that, then again you can't touch him.
And on those particular plays, which we highlighted, no penalties were called. They came from the NFC Championship game. Cannell slings it to the outside. That's caught at the 20 and a first down for Medice. And John, I mentioned that you went back to the New England-Indianapolis game where the New England secondary roughed up the Indy receivers, no doubt about it. But people forget in the NFC Championship game, that's very much what Carolina did to Philadelphia's receivers.
Yeah, remember towards the end of the season it started, where all the defenses were saying we're really going to be aggressive on these receivers. We're going to get up on them. We're going to maul them. And then they did, and then the officials didn't call it. It was in the rule. They just didn't call it. And then they looked at it and said, holy moly, we missed a lot of plays.
Griffin again, so a healthy dose of Quentin Griffin tonight, who has now carried the ball a total of 5 times on all of their running plays for 45 yards.
He is something. I mean, you know, to be a player on this level and be under 5'7", you have to have something special, and you have to have the strength, the power, the quickness, and all these things. And he really does have them. You just watch him in practice, and he's the guy that just stands out. I mean, look how short he is here. And you can hardly see him, but he'll just pop out of piles.
Like Joe Morris, the old giant. Ruben Drones dropped that one, so Drones also hurt his finger on the play. Speaking of one Joe Morris, you can take a look at some of the things that he did in his career. Most carries and yards by a running back under 5'8", helped lead the Giants to the Super Bowl title in 1986.
Yeah, and look at 86, he carried the ball 341 times, and then in 88 he carried it over 300 times. So that guy under 5'8" can be a workhorse too, and again, that's what Mike Shanahan is looking for in Quentin Griffin.
Think of that 86 season, he held out. He showed up a couple of days before the game, and then he ran the ball more than 20 times in the opener against Dallas. 3rd down and 7, and that's caught. Quick pass over the middle, hauled in by Charlie Adams. Second-year receiver out of Hofstra, Harry Campbell, makes the tackle, and so Cannell looking good on this drive. It'll be 1st down and goal.
See, and those are the things when you can't touch a guy that they're going to be wide open. You're going to be able to do this all year because the guy has to be off. He can't touch him in the first 5 yards, so you just go less than 5 yards, and the defender can't do anything. So you're just wide open there, so they have to wait now darn near until after he catches the ball.
1st and goal from the 5-yard line. Griffin again. One thing about the teams in the league this year, almost all of them work with officials. Several work with the actual game officials, and they spend a lot of time in each team's training camp trying to show them how these points of emphasis will be emphasized.
Right, and then they go and they watch film with them and talk about it at night.
End of the quarter, it's 3-3 in Canton, Ohio, and Monday Night Football resumes after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Period in Canton, Ohio. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Michelle Tafoya with you as the preseason schedule opens up. Some Broncos, well, one Bronco faithful, one Redskin faithful. Ready for some football, thanks to John Elway on the other side, and we'll be speaking with John during the 2nd quarter tonight as on 2nd down and goal, Danny Cannell with a reverse roll throws, and it's off the fingertips of Jed Weaver. And we mentioned with Sharp retiring, Chamberlain, Jed Weaver, and Jeb Putzier are the guys who, one of them will win the job or they'll do it by committee.
Right, and you know, the Broncos run this play, the bootleg, better than anyone, where the quarterback fakes to the back going one way. That's why you have to have a good running game, and then bootlegs out the other way. And then there's usually a guy wide open in this situation early in preseason, and it's usually the tight end.
3rd down and goal. And they go to the ground, and there's a big hole for Quentin Griffin, who looks very impressive, but a flag is down. Quentin, for the moment, is into the end zone.
Yeah, you're talking about Joe Morris and the things that he could do, and I used to always say about Joe Morris, he's not little, he's just short.
Offense, number 78, 10-yard penalty. Third down.
Well, that's Matt Lepsis who's making the switch from right tackle over to left tackle, costing him a touchdown.
And they like Lepsis over there because of his run block, and that's what they're going to get him for holding right here. Here's Matt Lepsis right here. Right here is Matt Lepsis. I'm sorry. You see, and he just got that left hand out there. And again, when you first make contact, that's okay, but you can't leave that hand on the guy's back.
Now 3rd and goal after the 10-yard march off from the 13-yard line. And they're going to call Griffin's number again. There's another flag as Griffin is taken down just inside the 10-yard line by Andre Locke.
And they run right behind Matt Lepsis again. I think we're going to see more and more of that. The reason Lepsis is still in there and Neal and Nalen and the inside guys have gone out is because he's moved, as you said, from right tackle to left tackle. So he and the right tackle, George Foster, are going to play this entire first half.
And that is Cedric Killings, 3rd-year defensive tackle out of Carson Newman.
Holding, offense, number 78, 10-yard penalty, repeat 3rd down.
That's Lepsis again.
See, here's the holding. See the left hand there? It's out there. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But you have to take it off. Your hands have to be inside the plane of the defensive man's body. But if it gets out there once and you bring it back, they don't call it. But if it gets out there like that and stays out there, they're going to call it.
So we saw John Jansen coming off before, and let's go to Michelle for the update.
Well, you guys, Redskins right tackle John Jansen, who has started every game on the offensive line for Washington since he entered the league in '99, was carted off the field for further examination. They've told us it's a left ankle injury, but they haven't been more specific than that. They want to wait until the doctors take a look at it. On the Denver side of things, Jashawn Sykes has a sprained left knee. He is done for the night. Trevor Price just banged his knees, guys. He's available if they want to bring him back in. Probably won't tonight. Back upstairs to you.
Not a guy like Price, and not on a night like tonight.
No, because the Denver Broncos have one true good defensive lineman, and that's Trevor Price. And when you're a little thin in that area, I don't think that he needs any more work here tonight.
That was the 4th offensive holding call as you look at Price on the Broncos. So they were into the end zone momentarily. Then the penalties have moved them back to the 24. So 3rd down and almost a quarter of the entire field to go. And Griffin eludes one tackler in the backfield and then gets to the 22-yard line. So Mike Shanahan with a very healthy dose of Griffin tonight, running and receiving.
I'll tell you, Matt Lepsis sure had a bad series there. Watch him in this pass protection. It's just a screen pass. You can't give that much ground. Not only does he give ground, he lets his man hit the quarterback, and he holds. So he did about everything, except that time they didn't call the hold. Matt Lepsis is having trouble in this quarter adjusting to being a left tackle.
Elam for a 40-yard attempt. Micah Nora will do the holding. And Jason is in midseason form as he's 2 for 2 tonight. And the Broncos take the lead 1 minute and 10 seconds into the period.
Elway's in the gun. Snap is good. 5-man rush. John throws. Touchdown.
Ladies and gentlemen,
John Elway. We'll visit with him when we come back to Canton.
6 years ago, a great thing happened in my life. The Broncos finally won a Super Bowl. After we beat the Packers that night, our owner, Pat Bowlen, raised the Vince Lombardi trophy and told everyone, this one's for John. Well, I'm here today to say this one's for Pat, and this one's for every Bronco fan out there.
Look at some of these numbers. 148 wins, that's first all-time. Back-to-back Super Bowls, including an MVP award. Over 50,000 yards through the air, that's second to Marino. 300 touchdown passes, and on and on. And in his first year of eligibility, John Elway goes to the Hall of Fame as Chad Morton. with a flag coming in. Takes it back to the 12-yard line. You know, John, not that long ago at the Hall of Fame, 4 or 5 years ago, they used to do the induction ceremony on the lawn. It was nice, but the freeway was right there, and trucks would honk, and there were about 2,000 people. What was it like to be in a stadium with about 20,000 people, so many in orange yesterday, and go into the Hall of Fame?
I tell you what, it was unbelievable. I think that, you know, again, the Bronco fans all over the country never ceased to amaze me, and showed up. I think there were 17,000 Bronco fans here yesterday, and so they never ceased to amaze me, and that's why I was so fortunate to be able to play in Denver and play for those fans.
Well, you know, talking to those fans, they knew that once you retired in 5 years, you were going to be here, and so they had 5 years to get ready for the party. That's quite a plan.
Well, I tell you what, they're the greatest, and yesterday was a great day, and that, you know, the only thing I missed, as I said yesterday, was my father couldn't be here for it, but I was glad he was able to hang on and see us win a couple Super Bowls.
You know, I remember the last practice we had before that Atlanta game. I was there at the practice, and you were darn near perfect. I don't know if you remember the practice, but I don't think a ball hit the ground.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do remember that, and that's something that we always practice to never have it hit the ground.
You know, and I walked off the field with your dad, Jack Elway, and that day, and I said, you know, I've never seen John that good in a practice, and your dad said that's the best he's been in 5 years, and that was your last practice.
Yeah, and I guess that was meant to be, but we played well, and then we went and played well in that game, and had a good game, and so we were able to win that second Super Bowl. But Dad was a big part of my life and a big part of my career.
Another man who was a very big part was your high school coach, who made the trip in his late 80s from L.A.
Yeah, he really did. He had, you know, he's been struggling with cancer. They didn't think he was going to make it, but was able to get out here, and so it was great being able to see him.
Jack Newmeyer at Granada Hills High School in the San Fernando Valley. 2nd down and 8 now for Washington from the 9-yard line. And Brunell throwing deep and incomplete at the 28. John, it ended perfectly for you. You go out, you've got the Lombardi Trophy for the 2nd time, and then you took a little while to retire after the 98 season. I remember seeing you in Hawaii a couple of weeks after that, and you were still thinking about it. When did you finally decide that was it? And did the fact that you'd won the Super Bowl, did that have any bearing on that?
Well, you know, of course it did. I think that, you know, if we hadn't won the Super Bowl, I'd still be trying to play. But, you know, there's no question in having won 2 in a row. But I think, you know, I knew pretty much my body was ready to move on. But you never want to take that step. And so I took some time to make sure that my gut feeling was correct, and that was that it was time to move on.
I remember you saying before that game you felt so good for the Super Bowl because you had 2 weeks, and you said if I could play and have 2 weeks before every game, I'd play another 10 years.
Exactly. Plus, we were down in Miami, and it was nice and warm, so it felt good on the joints. But, yeah, that was the hard thing, was bouncing back week after week. But the bumps and bruises just didn't seem to heal anymore.
A lot of times, I think we think that the mind tells us when to retire as players, but really it's the body.
It really is. And I think that you get to the point where you just realize you can't do it anymore. And when it starts hurting and you get up, and when the aches and pains don't go away from the previous week and they just keep piling on top of each other, it's really time to go. But you're dead right. It's not the mind, it's the body.
Brunell was pressured on that last series. They're forced to punt, and Triendos Luke, the rookie, is out of bounds at the Washington 45. We'll visit with John Elway on the other side of this break as well. Take a commercial here with 12:57 to go in the half, and Denver up 6-3. John Elway yesterday talking about how odd it was to get cheered in Ohio, because up the road in January of '87, every Browns fan remembers this, the 98-yard drive, which culminated with a touchdown pass to Mark Jackson in the end zone, which led to an overtime victory, which led to the Broncos and not the Browns going to the Super Bowl. And the Browns have yet to go to a Super Bowl. And, you know, as we take a look back at some of the memories with Matt Mock now in a quarterback for Denver, trying to win the number 2 spot here, John, I think there's such irony as they keep it on the ground, and Mike Anderson is the ball carrier. Do you find it ironic that, I mean, when you think about your career, and you can think in your memory bank about all the times you've rolled out and launched it, but to me, the signature play of your career is a run in the Super Bowl against Green Bay.
You're right, and it is kind of ironic that it came down to that, because really that was then that day I had the best seat in the house. I would have handed off to Terrell Davis and watch him run, and you know, he just had a great game. And then the next year we were able to come back against you know, Atlanta, and really that was a fun game. That was the first time we were favored in the Super Bowl, I think.
And that was such a gigantic play because it was such a key situation. It's late in the game. You needed a first down.
Yeah, it really was.
You know, that one you threw against Cleveland on the drive there that I know everyone always asks you about, you really put some mustard on that one. You know, and reminds me of the Elway cross. When's the last time you threw an Elway cross on a guy?
It's been a while, but yeah, that's kind of the mistake. There's a couple guys that didn't have when they had the pads on. It was when we didn't have the pads on. They let it get to themselves. And
you know how the cross at the end of the football is? He would throw it so hard that the ball would hit right here and just put it across. They call it the Elway cross.
Little Thimble, 3rd down and 12. Caught threading the needle and getting it into the good-looking rookie Darius Watson. Let's take a look at this, John. Here's a kid that you might have hooked up with a few times had he been around in your era.
I'll tell you what, he's a good young receiver. I know the Broncos are real high on him, and he's got great quickness and makes a great catch here. And obviously he knows he's going to get hit and almost breaks out of there.
Right, and he's not a big guy either. You know, if there's anything that they're worried about is can he take those hits, and that one there, he just did. But, you know, they're worried about, can he take a hit? Can he get away from bump coverage? Those kinds of things. And so far in training camp, he's been doing it.
Dropped by Mark, who played his college ball at LSU, 25-year-old rookie. John, so many people who saw yesterday's ceremony, they'll remember, as well as your speech, the introduction, the speech made by your daughter.
Yeah, I tell you what, she did so well. I was so proud of her, and for her to get up there and do what she did as an 18-year-old girl, that young lady, I should say, that is going to Stanford next year. But I was so proud of her, and she did a great job.
It's going to be pretty frightening. You get up in front of 18,000 people. She rehearsed that a couple of times.
She did, but she would not let me hear what it was. I tried to hear it and tried to have her read it to me, and she said, "No, you're going to. The first and last time you're going to hear it is when I'm up there on Sunday." So, but she's a great gal.
That's why she's going to Stanford.
That's right.
We're going to give her a little airtime right here because Michelle Tafoya is with her. Michelle?
I am indeed. She called it the greatest honor of her life. And, you know, you were the first daughter to introduce a father at the NFL Hall of Fame, or the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I should say. What was the one big thing you really wanted people to learn about your dad?
I just wanted him to know who he was outside of football. I mean, everyone can get up there and say his stats and say what amazing football player he was, and he wouldn't be here if he wasn't. So I wanted to get up there and, you know, say what exactly how he acted with us as kids, and I wanted to kind of represent my other brother and sisters, just because I know he would want them up there just as much.
You were pretty funny in your speech. You said that one of the cool things about being the kids of John Elway is that you were too young to remember the first 3 Super Bowls. But what were some of your, or even the most memorable moment for you of your dad's career?
I think definitely the Super Bowl when he won finally, because we were all just pulling for him so much, and the year before they hadn't made it, and it was just so heartbreaking. So for him to finally get there and for us to all be there to support him, and for him to just do so well, we were so proud of him. So.
Well, I know he's proud of you, and she's always been John Elway's daughter, but how about taking that legacy up to Stanford with her, guys? I mean, now she's John Elway's daughter at Stanford.
And she'll do very well in Palo Alto. She's how good an athlete is she?
You know what? She's a good athlete, and she's a hard worker, and she's a battler. That's what I love about her. She's on the floor all the time when she's playing basketball. So she's a competitor, and she stays after and works hard. So I'm so proud of her. And I do want to do. I told her yesterday. I said when we get back, we're going to play one-on-one in the front yard to see.
I was talking to her the other day, and she said after she goes to Stanford. You're gonna be Jesse's father.
You know what? I have a feeling that's not gonna be too far off. That's for darn sure, and I'd be happy to be that.
John, we thank you for the memories. We congratulate you. You know, one thing about going to the Hall of Fame, you're always going to wind up with laryngitis, right? You've been talking all weekend.
That's right.
So we're going to give you the rest of the night on.
Shaking a lot of hands. I appreciate it. It's great seeing you.
Terrific. Great, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, John Elway going into the Hall of Fame, and there was no doubt that it would be in the first year of eligibility. Meanwhile, the Broncos having trouble getting this drive on track. Matt Mock after the Ed Hockley call.
Ball start. Offense number 72. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That's George Foster. Matt Mock was drafted by the Chicago Cubs, and he played 4 years of minor league baseball, and then he went back to school. He went to LSU, and he played for Nick Saban down there, and of course they had a tremendous team last year. So he's 25 years old, and they like him to this point, and he right now is battling with Danny Cannell for the #2 spot.
And they think that he'll probably win the #2 spot if he keeps playing like he's been in training camp. And you know why he was drafted #7 in the 7th round? I mean,
why he was drafted 7th?
Yeah, 7th round.
I don't know this story. This is caught by Charlie Adams. The answer is
because of all things, they thought he was going to go to dental school. They thought that he had played baseball, didn't want to play anymore, wanted to go to dental school, so they had to go and ask him, you want to play football or you want to go to dental school? Let's get this straight. And he told Gary Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, that he wanted to play football, so they took him in the 7th round.
One of the ironies there is that in baseball, with a lot of rounds for the draft, and that's a lot more than 7, he was actually drafted in the 6th round by the Chicago Cubs. In that same draft, the Cubs actually took Antoine Randall L., the Pittsburgh receiver, as well. And then he gets drafted in the 7th round in football and tries to win the job at age 25. Micah Neward tries to deaden the kick and is able to do so at about the 6-yard line. 9:40 remaining in the half. Great to visit with John Elway, who goes into the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame game in Canton, 6-3 Denver. Mark Brunell tonight led 3 drives. One ended with a field goal. The other 2 were 3 and out. Mark got $8.6 million as a signing bonus. That's why a lot of people think he'll win the #1 job. But Patrick Ramsey has other ideas. And last year's starter comes in and on first down from the 8-yard line gives it to Rock Cartwright. And if ever a guy should be gun shy, but I don't think he is, John, it is Patrick Ramsey, who took some beating last year.
But he's playing for the right guy in the right system, because there's a lot of coaches that will put in a pass pattern and they put the pass pattern first and then the blocking second. Joe Gibbs has always been the kind of guy that blocks it first. If he can't block it, he won't run it. The most important thing on any pass play to Joe Gibbs is pass protection. So what happened to Patrick Ramsey last year isn't going to happen to him this year in this offense.
Sacked 30 times in 11 games, and we've got a timeout called here.
Joe Gibbs was saying that he's going to alternate starters every week. Brunell started tonight. Ramsey will start next week. Brunell the following week. Ramsey the following week, and take his time in making his decision.
Last year, he was hit almost 1/5 of the time when he threw the ball. It's the 3rd highest rate, just to give that some perspective. And he had the highest rate of deflected passes at the line of scrimmage. So he was under a lot of pressure, got whacked a lot, had to throw into a lot of traffic. And it was a tough year. Even though the Redskins started out very well last year, they finished with a mark of 5-11. And then Steve Spurrier, who had 3 more years remaining on the contract, said that's enough. And in came Gibbs, and he brings Joe Bugle back with him, and a lot of his other coaches as well. 2nd down and 11 from the 7-yard line. Ramsey, when we're talking about protection, he gets whacked again, and the pass is deflected and incomplete. That time it was Reggie Hayward putting on the pressure.
And part of that stuff is Ramsey too. He's not and there you have to make a decision, and the ball has to come out. Anytime you put it up there, then you bring it down, then you bring it back up again, you don't have that much time. I mean, you have to make your read, and if you have to go to a hot, you have to go to hot, but you can't wait that long. If you have to bring it down, whether you're forced to bring it down or not, and then get it up again, you're not going to get it off.
3rd down and 11. Is nowhere close. Chad Morton sprinting downfield incomplete. So Ramsey 3 and out on his first series.
You're talking to Larry Coyer, the defensive coordinator. He was talking about Reggie Hayward here, and he said what he has to do is he can't beat a guy by scheme. He has to beat a man. Now here it's a tight end, and then he goes off a tackle. But that's what the Denver Broncos want to see in him. See him beat a man and not some stunt to get a sack.
Tom Tupa's kick. Triando's Luke signals for, makes a fair catch at the 45-yard line, and that's where Denver will begin its next drive with 8:47 remaining in the opening half. In Joe Gibbs' return to the National Football League.
I got to tell you, the football games and the Super Bowls and all the fun we had and the fans and everything, I mean, it's some of the greatest memories anybody could have. But Pat and I came to the conclusion, the greatest thing we're going to leave on this earth is our two boys. So I say thanks to you guys, okay? And we're going to invest everything we can into JD and Coy.
And he meant it, too. That was his induction speech in 1996, 8 years ago, as Matt Mock goes deep into traffic, and the pass is incomplete with Adrian Medice triple covered. So it was all about his boys, his wife, Pat, and then they went on and had fantastic success on the NASCAR circuit.
Well, and then, you know, Joe thought about that, and one night Coy came to him and said, you know, I'm not really happy in this car racing. You know, I want to go back into football. And Joe thought about it, and he said, you know, I did something for 12 years for JD, and I haven't done anything for Coy. So that's what started. That was the flame that lit the fire again in Joe. Then he started to try and get Coy a job, and he ended up getting his own job and bringing Coy with him.
Anderson now gets rolled out of bounds, and all of the things had to come together. I mean, you had to have Spurrier quit because he had 3 more years, and then Dan Snyder, who is a very controversial owner. But one thing about Dan, he spends money. He wants to win very, very much. He's a human ATM is what he is. I mean, he has over the past few years shelled out an enormous amount of money to try to bring this team back to its glory state.
You know, one of the first things Joe Gibbs told me after he took the job, he says, if we lose, it's not because of Daniel Snyder.
3rd down and 4. And that's Mike Anderson. Well, I think, you know, if you would have said Dan Snyder and Joe Gibbs a few years ago when Dan first took over the team, everybody would have looked, you know, at it jaundicedly. But I think the fact that, and you and I had talked about it, when Parcells and Jerry Jones got together, there was no doubt in my mind or in yours, it was going to work. Right. Despite what everybody was saying about, if you know those guys, you knew it would work. And with Snyder and Gibbs, I think it's going to be the same thing.
It is the same thing. I mean, Joe Gibbs is a football coach, and he just wants to come and coach a football team, and Daniel Snyder just wants to win, and he's going to do everything that he can do to provide him the players.
4th and 2, they'll go for it from the 37-yard line. Mock handing the ball to Anderson, and Anderson has a first down. Stopped there by Nick Clemens.
Yeah, that's how Mike Anderson makes a lot of those yards. You know, right there at the end. I mean, he has that thing. He's a straight ahead runner. He's not going to, you know, he's not going to break away. He's not a Clinton Portis. He doesn't do those kinds of things. But you see, he had about a yard more to go, or 2 yards, and boom, you know, he just exploded and got that 2 extra yards.
Halfway through the second quarter, Denver on top, 2 Elam field goals. Mike Shanahan. Boy, how time goes by so quickly. I mean, Mike in his 10th season as the Washington coach. 2 Super Bowls with Elway back-to-back. Flags are down. 2 Super Bowls as the Denver coach. And don't forget, with Mike, he had a year and a quarter with the Raiders. Al Davis discovered him as a very young and up-and-coming coach, and he was right. It just wasn't the right time or the right situation for him.
Defense number 73. 5-yard penalty. Still first down. Repeat first down.
And when you coach 10 years in a row, I mean, take a look at that list. The guys who have been a coach or manager of their teams. Jerry Sloan is on top, started in '88. Bobby Cox with the Braves. Then Bill Cowher, the most tenured in the NFL. Bruce Bochy has been with the Padres since '94. And then there's Jeff Fisher and Shanahan. So it's Cowher, Fisher, Shanahan, 1, 2, 3 in terms of tenure.
Yeah, 3 very good coaches, too.
Mock to the end zone and picked off in the end zone. Picked off by Sean Taylor. So Sean Taylor on this series seeing his first action. Taylor, the highly heralded safety out of the University of Miami, who was the number 5 overall pick. Very confident. He's had quite an offseason with a lot of stuff going on with his contract and leaving an NFL symposium and all that, but he picks off one here.
And watch, here he is, and you're just going to see, first of all, he's going to read, then he's going to react. Backpedal, start to move to the sideline, and then react right there to the ball at the end.
And look at the size of this guy at safety.
Well, he's a safety, and the other thing that they like about him is Greg Williams was telling us that he can play corner. If he has regular defense in there and they go slot, you can put Sean Taylor on the slot.
Can you imagine the 6'2", 231-pound corner? Well, it took him a while to get him into camp. He hired an agent, then he fired him. Then he waited a few months to hire another agent. He hired a couple of guys, and they got the deal done. Then he wasn't happy, so then he's thinking about going back to the other guy. I mean, Honk, if you've been Sean Taylor's agent, and then he had a situation develop in training camp, or mini camp actually, where LeVar Arrington gave him one of those shaving cream pies in his face, irritated his eyes, and he missed some practice. They mentioned he left the NFL symposium. So it's been a pretty interesting start for him.
Welcome to the NFL. I mean, that's a defensive player in the NFL. No, but the thing is he can run and he can hit and he can cover. I mean, those are pretty good combinations.
Offense number 62, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
That's the incident we were talking about. It's a prank. They do it a lot with the rookies. It's a little bit of hazing.
You all right? You done heard it for real, man.
And everybody got a little scared here at one point.
Well, our Arrington's not sure there at the end whether he should be laughing or get pretty serious about it.
Well, he can laugh right now because on his first series in a Redskin uniform, albeit preseason, he picks off a pass. Second down and 12 from the 17-yard line. Rock Cartwright up to the 21. Cartwright figures to be the guy to back up Clinton Portis this season.
And Joe was saying that he wants to see quite a bit of Rock Cartwright tonight. And Joe Gibbs is a guy that calls the plays, too. You know, we talk about him coming back, and this is something that's new to him. When he called plays, when he was here before and called plays, he did it with hand signals. And so he said, so this thing where he can call the play and talk in the quarterback's headset is brand new to him, and tonight's the first time he's done it in a game.
Third down and 9 from the 21-yard line. Good protection. Ramsey guns it over the middle, and a flag is thrown. So there's contact downfield. Nick Ferguson was there. Gary Scott, second-year receiver, trying to win a job out of Michigan State.
Pass interference, defense number 23. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
It's actually 25. It was Nick Ferguson.
And I think Nick Ferguson just got there, or whoever it was, just got there a little quick on the ball. He's going to be coming in there, and he has the coverage. That's not, there's Ferguson right there. And you see he's 25, and he just gets there just before the ball gets there. So you have to wait just a split second more. If you're there before the ball, that's going to be pass interference.
From the 35-yard line. Ramsey hit as he throws, gets it off to Cartwright, and the helmet comes off on the tackle. The helmet of Terry Pierce, the linebacker, replacing the injured Jay Sean Sykes. And Ed Hockley has been a busy man tonight, as would figure in preseason. A lot of penalties. There have already been 12 in the game accepted.
Defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
This will be the 13th. So Pierce is the guy with the face mask, and then it's his helmet that comes off.
But it's Marco Coleman right here, and you're going to see the rush that he gets. He gets to the outside, then he takes on a back, then he takes on a guard, and just keeps working and working, and finally gets there.
That may be the first time a face mask call has been called, and the guy loses. The guy with the face mask call is the guy who loses his helmet. First and 10, ball at midfield. 6-3 Denver. 4.5 to go in the period. Cartwright loses the football. And the Denver Broncos have recovered it. Chris Young was able to punch it out. And then Alexander is there, Rock Alexander, to recover it.
That's some kind of record in a game where you have a Rock carry the ball and fumble the rock, then a Rock recover the rock. There's rocks all over the place. What happens here is the right tackle, Mark Wilson, is pulling. See, 62 there, and he doesn't get there. So you don't get the lead through the hole. That lets the defense get the penetration, and then there's rocks all over the place.
An hour from here, let's go up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when we're done. Cartwright gets consoled. 1st and 10, ball at the 47-yard line. Mock with a great fake. And Darius Watts makes the catch on the near side of the field.
That's one thing that Mock is going to be able to do very well is that bootleg, because he has good speed. And I was talking to Gary Kubiak the other day, and he said the thing that he likes about him is he's a 4.75 guy. You know, so when you get a quarterback and he's going to bootleg, you see, he fakes here to the right, then he bootlegs out to the left. And when he can do that with a little speed and quickness, he can get out there to that open area and be ready to throw the ball just a beat sooner.
1st and 10 now from the 44-yard line. Mike Anderson gained at 3. Let's check in with Michelle.
All right, well, Champ Bailey is here, and I think that Denver fans are glad because over the last 2 seasons, Denver's had an NFL low 18 interceptions. They hope you're going to impact that. How do you want to show these fans that the trade for Clinton Portis was worth it?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not here to put on a show or anything, but when I come out here to play, hey, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that we win the game. But, you know, I do my part. I mean, it's a team thing. But, you know, when I get out there, I'm not trying to let any guy catch any ball.
And it's a little bit tougher this season because the rules emphasis is squarely directed at the defensive backs. How do you think that's going to affect what you do?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to play my game. I mean, if they call it, then I have to pull up a little bit. It all depends on the ref, I believe, because some guys are going to call a little stricter than others. But, you know, the guy today, I got so many push-offs. He didn't call anything, so I told him don't call nothing on me.
Hey, listen, we're hearing rumors that you would like to play offense as well as defense. How likely is it we'll see you catching some of Jake Plummer's passes?
Look, it's in the making. Trust me. You'll see it. Before the year's out, you'll see it. I'm going to make it happen somehow, some way. Mike said he's going to give it to me.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Let's send it back up to you, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. He played plenty of offense in college at Georgia as Anderson makes the catch. His given name is Roland, but Champ is his given middle name. Roland Champ Bailey.
I think anytime you're an athlete, you would like that to be your name, Champ. Hey, how you doing, Champ? I think we need a champ on this crew just every week. You know, you go, hey, Champ.
Fred Godelli, he's our boss, our producer.
Hey, you need a champ around.
47-yard attempt here. Jason Elam. And that'll be good. Champ is normally what you call somebody, you know, you can't think of who it is, but you know the guy. Hey, Champ. Denver on top 9-3. Elam is 3 for 3. And Monday Night Football from Canton, Ohio is being brought to you by Autotrader.com. Sell your car fast on the ultimate automotive classifieds site. Michelob Ultra. Lose the carbs, not the taste. And Snickers, make it happen with Snickers. A Monday night display here at the Hall of Fame in Canton. One of the montages, which they put in there a number of years ago. As I mentioned, at the top 35 seasons, John. Monday Night Football beginning in 1970, right up the road in Cleveland, Namath and the Jets against the Browns.
That's a pretty good run, and I remember that one and a lot of them since that time. That was Monday night was always special, and I think it still is for players and coaches. And I know when I coached, it was, you know, I mean, you always look forward to it, and everyone said, you know, this is where we want to be, this is what we want to do, and it was special. And then watching, I mean, it's the only game, and it's proven it for 35 years. It has some legs.
It is. I mean, look, I've been around for 19 on this package, and there's a buzz. There's a buzz in the stands. There's a buzz on the field before the game. The players all know it. Coaches know it, and they try to, you know, you want to downplay it a little bit if you're a coach.
Yeah, but you still have all day to think about it. You know, on a day game, you just get up, you have a pregame meal, you go to the stadium, you get taped, you go out, warm up, and go play.
John Simon running back the kick. Didn't bother you, John. You coached 13 Monday night games, 11, 1, and 1 tie.
Right, and I think, you know, it was my players. And we're talking about the Hall of Fame and so many of the players that are in the Hall of Fame, and so many more that could be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I think of a Jack Tatum, and, you know, I mean, some other Cliff Branch. I mean, there's so many other players that were great players at that time. And I really think the secret to the Monday night thing for that group was they like to show off. And when you would tell them, everyone's watching you, the whole world's watching you, watching you in other countries and stuff, and satellite, man, and they'd go out and they'd just go like that.
Well, reputations to be made or broken on a Monday night. I remember Phil Villapiano had a phenomenal Monday night game, and all of a sudden he went from being just another linebacker to everybody knows him.
Yeah.
And Seth Joyner had one of those nights as an Eagle in Houston in the early 90s.
Right. If you're going to have one of those nights, you want to have it here on Monday night during the regular season. Of course, you'd like, if you're going to have one of those days, one of those nights, you'd like it to be the Super Bowl.
Right.
You'd like to be like John Elway, be able to say, that's it, that's my last one, no more, I won.
Bad game on a number 7 regional. 2-minute warning. Good feature coming your way on the Lexus Halftime Show. John Elway and Barry Sanders looking back at their careers.
Yeah, I've never been so excited or felt the adrenaline flowing like it was after I got up from that play.
I can see where being a defender is like, where is he? How can we get a shot on this guy?
So it was a good feature last year, having a guy sit down or a coach and take a look at tape and comment about it. And that's what we'll do with Elway and Sanders. And, of course, we've had John in the booth. And then we'll talk to Barry. Barry will come along in the third quarter.
You know, I think the longer they're away, the more they enjoy reflecting on it. You know, if you talk to someone and say, how'd you play last week? They're not as interested in it. But you ain't now spend 5 years, and you kind of reflect on the whole thing, and it brings back some of those feelings again strongly.
4, and the pass was tipped at the line of scrimmage. It's funny how almost everybody, you know, begin to mellow, and no matter what kind of a player you were during your career, and some of these guys, you know, have really had their problems with the media or the fans, but all of a sudden, there's a certain point in time, you sense your mortality.
Right, and you know, and part of it is the spotlight's on you, and then you retire or you go, and the spotlight moves off you, and then you kind of want to go back and grab that spotlight a little more.
Drive kick that's going to roll dead at about the 40-yard line off the foot of Tom Tupa. So with 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining, the Denver Broncos with a 6-point lead will take over at the 41-yard line.
Yeah, we were talking about Matt Mock and how he's, you know, he's not going to, obviously he's not going to beat out Jake Plummer, but he is in a fight here for that second spot with Danny Cannell. And these are the kinds of things you want as a coach. You say, what do you get out of preseason? Okay, you have a rookie quarterback, and you want to see him in a 2-minute drill. I mean, now he has to go into a hurry-up offense. He has to get in the huddle, get out, use timeouts, do all those types of things. So you like your rookie players or your young quarterbacks to get this experience that Matt Mock's going to get right here.
1st and 10 from the 41-yard line. Guns that he's got a great arm, but the pass is incomplete, intended for Charlie Adams.
Watch pass, incomplete.
66 seconds remaining. The Broncos, pretty heavy travel schedule as they come here, and Mike Shanahan will go home and then take his team to Buffalo this weekend. Meanwhile, Washington goes home for its second preseason game, and Joe Gibbs will be walking the sidelines at FedEx on Saturday night against the Carolina Panthers.
You see the intensity of both these coaches. You know, preseason game, preseason doesn't mean anything. You can't tell it by Mike Shanahan or Joe Gibbs.
2nd and 10. That's caught by Darius Watts.
And here's the things that Matt Mock has to do. You have to get the team up. You have to get them up to the line of scrimmage, get the ball off.
3rd down and a short 3 from the 48-yard line. Mock throwing. That's caught for a 1st down. Charlie Adams makes the catch. The ball is at the 44-yard line. And timeout is taken here by Denver with 41 seconds remaining in the first half.
Yeah, I know they all like Darius Watts, and he's caught 4 passes so far. And we talked about the adjustment that you have to make, and Watts not being a big guy, but you know, can he take the hit? Can he get away from the bump? These are the things that the Bronco coaches want to see, and they say that he's so quick and so fast that they think that he can get away from the bump, as you just saw there, and he can take the hits. Now, how about Matt Lepsis? He has to make an adjustment to play left tackle. I think he's playing it a little too soft, and he's letting too big a push come in that backside of the quarterback.
Called for back-to-back holding penalties earlier. Back to Watts for a second. When you see a kid come out of Marshall and he's a wide receiver, there's only one man you think about.
Right.
Mr. Randy Moss, Minnesota.
And and I think that's how they get him too. I think Randy Moss goes there, Marshall, great wide receiver. So then other wide receivers that are in high school, they see him. Where'd he go to school? It's kind of like the USC tailback. All those things. I mean, success breeds success.
2nd and 8. Pressure, sack. Coming through the middle was Kerry Campbell, 3rd year out of Bowling Green, trying to win a spot as a backup linebacker with 16 seconds now remaining, and a timeout is taken here by Denver, their 3rd and final timeout.
Kerry Campbell, that's the thing that you have to do when they start to make this move. At some point you're going to have to make a thing. And we see Campbell right here. That's what we call a delayed blitz. He lets the back get out of there. He lets the line adjust. Then he comes late. You see him wait and come late after Mike Anderson goes to the outside. Mike Anderson goes left, and then Campbell comes straight up the middle. That was a good defensive call there. They get there and they got this 2 minute. They're trying to get in field goal position, and they're getting very close to it. You have to knock them out of that area, and that defensive play just did.
3rd and 19 with 16 ticks remaining. Underneath, pass is caught, and now Washington's going to take a timeout because they're shy of the 1st down. Adrian Medice making the catch. So timeout Washington, and they're going to try to get Denver to punt. At least take one more shot if they can get the ball back. There is Barry Sanders. And you'll hear from him at halftime, and then we'll bring him into the booth during the 3rd quarter. And we'll look back, John. I'll think back to some of the brighter moments in the careers of both those men. And, of course, we saw Bob Brown earlier. Michelle talked to him, and then we'll speak with Carl Eller. Michelle will have Carl in the 2nd half. Pretty good foursome going in.
No, a great foursome. I mean, Carl Eller, was a great defensive end, tough guy, real good pass rusher, but also good against the run. Bob Brown could block him like no one else. And John Elway, I mean, what a competitor. And Barry Sanders, if you're going to pay to watch a guy play, you always put Barry Sanders at the top of that list.
Flag down here before the snap, no kick. It's going to be a pretty exciting few years here, too, because the Hall of Fame next year.
Ball start offense, number 86. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
The guy who comes up next year is Dan Marino.
Yeah. There's old Bob Brown.
Steve Young comes up next year, too.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, there's good groups back to back to back to back. I'm not sure exactly what Joe Gibbs is doing here. I'm not sure, unless he's going for a block, and he's not doing that, because you're going to get the ball back in very poor field position with, less than 10 seconds, and you're just going to have a chance for one play. They are going to go on a block. Now it makes sense. Here they come.
To kick. One guy back, fair catch called for 14-yard line by John Simon. So time for one play with 4 seconds remaining.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. He was trying to make them punt and then use his one play that he was going to use for the punt block.
I just saw that shot there with Don Bro in the picture. I mean, how many times do you think of Gibbs in the 80s in big games, and Don Bro, I think was the running backs coach, Don, is his back to you right there, but you look at Don, he always has those glasses down low over his nose. If you call casting and you said, send me a professor, they send you Don Bro.
I remember when Don Bro was a backup quarterback for the San Diego Chargers. He and Dan Henning.
Good to see him back. Halftime. 9-3 Broncos coming up. The Lexus Halftime Show. We'll be back after this message from the NFL and worse more ABC stations.
The Lexus Halftime Show, brought to you by Lexus and their passionate pursuit of perfection. Here now, Al Michaels.
No touchdowns, 4 field goals, 3 by Jason Elam at halftime here at the Hall of Fame game. The Denver Broncos lead the Washington Redskins 9-3. Well, we talked to John Elway before. We'll have Barry Sanders in the booth in the third quarter. We did something last year, and it turned out to be very interesting and a lot of fun. Sit a guy down in front of the big screen, roll some highlights, the great plays, the humorous plays, and that's what we've done with John Elway and Barry Sanders.
Steps up in the pocket. Elway can run. He flies inside the 5-yard line.
Barry cuts it back over the middle, 35-30, explodes to the 25, breaks a tackle to the 20. He'll take it. Here's a touchdown, Lions. Barry Sanders.
Barry's my new idol now. I love the way the guy runs. When I grow up, I want to run just like him.
I remember that night, Monday night game. He was Bo Jackson was the modern-day Jim Brown, I think. And obviously, it's pretty bizarre to have him talking about me like that. You know, that's my first couple years in the league, and I'm really just trying to make a name for myself.
And Barry gets the call. Barry Sanders, holy mackerel.
When you look at Barry Sanders run the football and you see him do the amazing thing, run after run, sometimes you just got to look to the heavens and say, wow, wow.
42 seconds to go. Broncos at the Cleveland 5. Third down and a yard. The snap to Elway. The look, the throw, touchdown. The Mark Jackson 98.5-yard drive.
Down there in the dog pound, we'd worked so hard to get there, and I knew the last thing I wanted to do was throw an interception, so I threw that one extra hard to make sure that if Mark Jackson didn't catch it, nobody was going to catch it. Unfortunately, Mark did.
They got the dangerous back in the NFL. He liable to break it any minute.
They give to Barry, and he bobs and weaves, breaks a tackle.
Don't never let that outside. Don't let him outside when it's dangerous.
I can see where you have this little guy back there hiding behind big linemen, you know, being a defender. It's like, where is he? How can we get a shot on this guy?
Fights free. He's on his way. Unbelievable.
Let's see what Elway has in his bag of tricks here.
Elway, here comes the blitz. He steps away from it and lets the pass go long. He's going for a touchdown.
You're kidding me.
I think I was actually as surprised as anybody in the kingdom that I was still standing as the linebacker went over the top of me.
Elway was submerged, jumps up, and throws a strike to Shannon Sharp at the 4-yard line.
I was blessed with a strong arm.
Just be ready for a heater. Be ready for a heater.
Knock his orange glasses off. Knock them down.
How would you get if I knocked the orange glasses off? Believe me, I tried to knock those glasses off him all the time.
And now the crowd senses history. Barry cut back. Now he's got it. 50, 40, 30. Look out. He's well over 2,000 now. Holy mackerel. Someday you'll be able to say, well, tell your grandkids, I saw the best running back in football.
A lot of things really stick out from this game because I'm number 20. Kevin Glover, one of my favorite people in the world, is number 53. Put them together, you got 2053. That's the number of yards I ended up with that year.
Barry gets 2,053 yards.
You know, it's really one of the years that I'm most proud of.
One play to the championship. 4th and 6 for the 31. Blitz is on. Favre hit as he throws. Pass is going to be incomplete. Denver's going to win it. Oh, baby, they're going to win this thing. The Broncos have done it.
I mean, every time I see it, I get shivers. I mean, I think about all the time that I spent practicing and winning games and losing games. When I saw that 4th down pass hit the ground, it was the most special moment because we finally realized that we were world champs.
I'm so proud of you. You know how good that nice ring's going to look on your finger? Can't believe it.
After 15 years, it was a long road, but to finally get there was unbelievable.
Halftime here at 9-3 Denver. You know, John, I'm looking at the two guys, John Elway, Barry Sanders, and we'll always think of Elway in our mind's eye as hoisting that Lombardi trophy. We think of Barry Sanders, we'll always think of him individually and all of the great things he did. I wonder if Barry would have played longer had he either had the chance to hoist that trophy or it was a realistic possibility.
Yeah, I think he probably would have, you know, and even John Elway, you know, they always got that Super Bowl thing, but I thought some of his best years were the years that they didn't win a Super Bowl. Barry Sanders had some great years and didn't win a Super Bowl because he didn't play for a great team. But anytime you went and you watched the game, and Barry Sanders was a part of it. You knew that you were seeing something very, very special.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and as I said, the classes are going to get better and better through the years because, because of television. We all know these people right now. It's going to be a lot of fun here the next few years.
Right, and and it just gets bigger and bigger, and this is, you see how special this is. I mean, I just think that coming here to Canton, where it all started, and then all the old Hall of Famers here, and then the new ones coming in, and then the next level, you bring up the Dan Marinos, the Steve Youngs, those guys out there knowing someday I'm going to be there. That's pretty good.
Great way to open up NFL 2004. John Elway saluting the crowd here at halftime, and back we come with the second half after this. Canton, Ohio. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Michelle Tafoya. 4 field goals in the game. Denver on top 9-3 as we get ready to start the third quarter on this Monday night in Canton, Ohio. For a bunch of years, they played this game on a Saturday afternoon right after the induction ceremony, then moved it to Monday, moved the induction ceremony to Sunday into the stadium. It's been a great weekend. Norris kick is taken by Gary Scott, and the opening kickoff of the second half is run back to the 32-yard line. And let's check in with Michelle.
Well, the news down here, Al, is not good for Redskins offensive tackle John Jansen. The longest tenured Redskin, who injured himself early in this game, has ruptured his left Achilles tendon. The question is he out for the season? Now, our colleague Tim Brandt, who is the sports director for the Washington, D.C. ABC affiliate, tells me he spoke to Jansen's wife, Martha, who was in the locker room with John. She told him that Jansen is done for the season. The Redskins are not confirming that at this point. They may make an announcement after the game, Al, but at this point they're not confirming it.
It happened in the first quarter. He wasn't in for that long and wasn't going to be in for that long. As Sultan McCullough picks up a couple of yards here. And let's go back and take a look at where Jansen got hurt.
And that's the strength of any Joe Gibbs team is the offensive line. And you're going to see Jansen. He just goes down there. Now watch as he tries to get up, and you can see that he realizes right there that it's his Achilles, and he goes back down, and then they took him off on a cart. That Achilles is a tough one. It's a tough one on anyone, but it's a tough one on a big guy.
McCullough out of USC is out of bounds at about the 40-yard line. So right off the bat, Joe Gibbs, Joe Bugle have a major problem they're going to have to solve as they lose John Jansen.
Yeah, and that was kind of the strength. I mean, that Joe Bugle has always, kind of built everything around the offensive line and, big guards and big tackles, and that's what he had. I mean, he had Chris Samuels on the left side, who was a Pro Bowl type tackle, and John Jansen on the other side, who they thought should be a Pro Bowl type tackle, and now they have to go to a rookie, number 62, Mark Wilson.
Mark Wilson out of California, as on third down, that pass is complete. Taken by Scott up near midfield, and a first down for the Washington Redskins.
By Gary Scott.
Looks like Joe Gibbs wants to get Ramsey a little more play. That he really wasn't satisfied with the way that second quarter went. And I think that, to say that you want to win a preseason game, in the first preseason game, and you have 5 of them, you think, well, it's not really that important. But I'll tell you, to Joe Gibbs, it is that important. His first one back, he wants to prove to himself, his team, and all those things that he can still coach and stuff works.
And Ramsey fumbles the snap, recovers it himself. I mean, for Joe, you're right. He's been away for so long, and things are different, and coaches have challenges now, and the game has changed a little bit in that regard. And he has to come up with an answer at quarterback as well between Brunell and Ramsey.
Yeah, and this just has to be automatic here. I mean, Ramsey's had some bad juvenile things happen to him. I mean, he's had balls tipped that shouldn't be tipped. He, doesn't handle a snap there.
Second down 12.
He looks a little, I mean, he doesn't look comfortable playing this game.
Second and 12.
340. 340.
And the handoff goes to McCullough again. You know, for what it's worth, it's training camp, and they've only been in training camp for a few days, but Joe has had some consternation in regard to the way they have looked offensively.
Well, yeah, he said offensively it's been rough, and it started in minicamp. They had a minicamp in March, and the offense couldn't do anything, and Joe and the offensive coaches stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how to attack a minicamp defense.
Third down and 7. Over the middle by Gary Scott at the 32-yard line.
And he stepped up and threw that one.
And then he could say no.
Because I was going to say DJ Williams, the #1 draft choice of the Denver Broncos, hit him just as he threw that ball.
Official coming in late to signal after the first one had signaled it was a catch that it was no catch.
The pass is incomplete. Brown. 4th down.
Ooh, I don't know that you can't signal that. I don't know that his arm wasn't between the ball and the ground.
But did he have possession of the ball? The ball is rolling around.
No, I guess he didn't. You're right, it is rolling around.
You have to make a move, as they say, a football move once you come up with it.
You're right. I thought he had control of it all the way with the arm in there, but he didn't. But it'd be good just to have a challenge anyway. I mean, just to have a challenge and prolong everything.
Kevin Stemke shot. It's deadened at the 3-yard line. Now, we're going to have some fun when we come back, though, because we'll take a look at this first as we go to the break.
Barry up to the races, 30, 20, 15, 10. They'll never get it. Touchdown, Lions.
The electric one, Mr. Barry Sanders, new enshrinee, coming up with us in the booth when we come back to Canton, Ohio.
I started playing organized football at the age of 9, and it was something that I felt I had to do. It was once said that man can do what he wants, but he cannot will what he wills. And in a lot of ways, I feel like football chose me.
And Barry was very good for football as Denver starts its drive with a 2-yard run. Barry Sanders, congratulations. You know, we looked this up. You're 36 years old. You're in the Hall of Fame. There are 24 guys in the NFL right now older than you.
Really? Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I am old. Man, you're right.
That's Barry Sanders. I mean, he played football the way it's supposed to be played. He ran with the ball. He scored a touchdown, gave it back to the referee, and he's the master of the understatement.
Meanwhile, there is Sean Taylor, and we talked about this rookie and what a splash he's already made. And he intercepted one on the first series that he was in, and now he intercepts one and scores the touchdown.
Barry, this guy, Sean Taylor, is a heck of a player. He's the #1 draft choice of the Redskins. He plays safety, but can also cover. Watch him. He's right here, and he's just reading the quarterback. He's just looking back. He's just watching. He sees a bootleg come out here, so he starts to go with the bootleg, gets a jump on it, and just cuts everything off. That was a good read. I mean, he knew when he saw the bootleg coming his way, and then he saw the tight end coming to his side, he just jumped it.
That looked like a play that Gibbs was on the other side of in the Super Bowl when Theismann got intercepted by Jack Squirick on that same type of play. Washington now leads 10-9. So Barry comes into the booth, and all of a sudden the game gets good. That would figure. When you look at Barry Sanders' numbers, 4 times the league's rushing leader, 10 seasons in the league, 10 trips to Hawaii at the end of the year, almost 100 yards a game, and a tick short of 5 yards per carry. 99 rushing touchdowns. Hey, you were so close to triple figures, and then 3rd all time. Barry was 2nd when he retired behind Walter Payton, and now of course Emmitt Smith has that record. You know that through the years, a lot of people who outside of football have come up to John or me or people who are around the game and said, we don't understand it. Barry, what did Barry Sanders do? How would you get? What were you telling people in that 5-year period between retirement and now as to why you retired?
Well, first of all, about the 99 touchdowns. They called back a long touchdown my last year, and just wanted to make that point. But
you can still get in uniform,
So you really didn't leave any meat in the bone. I was going to say, I looked at those numbers and I said, man, you left a little meat in that bone.
A little bit. But I think basically I had gotten out of the game a lot of what I wanted, and really had gotten to a point where I had enough and seen enough, and was ready to walk away from the wonderful experience that I had. But it was really just time for me to go.
After you walked away, did you ever think of walking back in?
No, sir, not really. I never had any real contact with anyone, and as far as trying to come back. It's something that you sit at home and you second guess. Well, did I do the right thing? But at no point was I ever aggressively trying to come back and play.
I don't think there's ever been a runner like you. I mean, I watched a lot of football, a lot of players over the years, and I don't think anybody else could do the things with the football that you did.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. I always pretty much since I started playing ran the same way. Just sort of trying to avoid the big guys and stand on the edges. So that's the only way I knew how to run.
But the thing is, I mean, you could make these moves going full speed one way and stop and then go the other way and then stop and go the other way. And those cuts, you probably made more defensive backs pull groins than any other player that ever played.
I always knew where the dangerous guys were, like Reggie White, and try to stay away from them.
And you were able to stay injury-free because of those moves, for the most part, during your career.
Oh, yes. I mean, in this game, you're going to get some bumps and bruises, but I, stay away from major injuries, and I'm lucky that I did, but certainly had my share of days where I hurt pretty good.
It's interesting. In reading your book, you talk about your passion for the game, and then there are people who say, well, wait a second, how can he be passionate about the game and then walk away, at the apex, in effect, of his career? But you obviously had that passion at least for those 10 years.
Yes, sir. And the passion was different at different times in my career. Obviously, you come in as a young player, want to prove yourself, enthused about the game. And, one thing I realized is that, as long as you, no matter how long you play, one day it will come to an end. And so for me, I decided to take that into my own hands and choose that for myself.
And there was the quote in July of '99, my desire to exit the game is greater than my desire to remain in it. I'm wondering, too, Barry, if the Lions had been contenders during those years, if they'd been a better overall football team, do you think you would have walked away after 10, or would you have gone longer?
Well, it's hard to answer that question. Obviously, everybody wants to win, and so had I had that circumstance, then I would have had a lot more to think about, and it would have made it a lot tougher of a decision.
Flag on the play here as Ed Hockley drops it. And what about the future for you? At the age of 36, prime of your life?
Holding by the receiving team, number 32, during the return. 10-yard penalty enforced from the spot of the foul. Washington keeps the ball, first down.
You had the presence of mind not to talk over Hockley. You were very respectful. Don't answer that question until we come back. We got to keep the audience.
Very good.
Barry Sanders will answer that when we come back. 10-9 Redskins. Clinic on making people miss as the Washington Redskins with a 1-point lead start this drive from the 25-yard line, and Patrick Ramsey throws it out of bounds. So Barry, when we left off, we were talking about the age of 36, prime of your life. What does the future hold for you?
Well, hopefully, I'd like to see a rushing touchdown in this football game right here.
Or a touchdown.
The immediate future. Let's see someone run for a touchdown. Well, you had one. Quentin Griffin ran for one earlier.
Yeah, I think he got called back. Yeah, he's a good young player that I'm excited to see what his future holds. But But you know what? I'll have to take some time to really come down from this wonderful weekend. I'm involved in small business. And got three boys, and do a pretty good deal of traveling. But you know, I'm you know, that's pretty much it. I get to spend a lot more time with my family than if I was playing, obviously. And you know, that's pretty much a full-time job, along with the small business that I have.
Your sons make moves like you did when you were their age. We have a shot of you when you were 9 years old. Oh, here
God.
it is right here in the 6th grade. Now watch Barry Sanders in the 6th grade. I mean, you were doing the same stuff at that age that you were doing 20 years later. I mean,
wow. You know what? I don't know what to say.
I don't either, but you know, if
you know what? I've always ran the same way. It's the way that made sense to me, and like as you see there, I always found a way to find the corners.
Yeah.
Man, that's a nice piece of footage you have there.
Well, we'll give you that tape.
I was just thinking, if parents, you know, have a son, they want to know if he can be a running back, and they want to compare their son of where they are now and where they get in the Hall of Fame. Let them look and see if they in the 6th grade can do what you did in the 6th grade, that they're going to be in the Hall of Fame someday.
Well, I probably had a head start because, you know, by the time I was there, I had watched so many great backs and loved the game so much. And I always enjoyed the running back position. The first running back that I really enjoyed to watch was Terry Metcalf.
Sure.
And because he was a smaller guy and had a very elusive style, I probably have to give some of those guys credit for some of that footage there that you saw.
Is there any backs you like to watch now?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Obviously, you got two good young backs in this game, Quentin Portis and Quentin Griffith. And then you go to Deuce McAllister. He's an exciting back, and LaDainian Tomlinson, guy who can make things happen. And so, you know, Marshall Faulk has always been a favorite of mine.
Quickly, before we go to the break, as Hockley makes the call here, if you, one way or another, do you think at some point in your life you'll be back in football, front office, coaching, any position in football?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. No, I don't see it really in the immediate future.
You're reflective. We wish you the greatest success.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the memories.
Thanks for having me.
Barry Sanders,
All right, Coach.
Hall of Famer.
Thank
you. To never give up. Play every down.
Aerial coverage tonight is being provided by Goodyear. Blimp hovering high above Canton, Ohio. Blimp, of course, is quartered nearby, near Akron. Just up the road, just up I-77. 49-yard line, the Denver Broncos with Mock at quarterback, and busting into the backfield is Nick Clemens to make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage.
That'll always get the running game, won't it? Any time a defensive lineman gets penetration, and this time here you're just going to see him hit the gaps, and that's the big thing the defenses are doing now. They're just going to hit the gaps right here, and if the center doesn't get over there, he's going to end up back here. That's exactly what happens. You see the center's trying to get to him, he just gets that penetration, and he ends up 5 yards in the backfield.
Santonio Beard, 3 carries for 0 net yards now. And that one is simply dropped by Charlie Adams. Adams has caught 4 balls tonight for a total of 33 yards.
You know, that's a tough thing in these preseason games. I mean, people say, oh, they don't mean anything, and, you know, they're this and that. But if you're a player and you're trying to get a spot on the roster or the practice squad or get a team to send you to NFL Europe or any of those types of things, these plays right here in this quarter and in the next quarter are very, very important.
Sure, it doesn't mean much to a guy who's got a job cemented, and the coach isn't going to have him in there anyway. But for the other guys, this is their season. 3rd and 13. And that's caught on 3rd and long by Adrian Medice for a first down. You know, John, I was thinking about, you know, you can't make too much of the results of a preseason game. But last year, there were 4 teams that went through the preseason undefeated, and 2 of them were Carolina and New England.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, but it's still football, and, you know, like Joe Gibbs says, he was uptight, you know, before this game, and he wants to win. And I think anytime you go out there, I don't care what it is, you have to want to win. And anytime you get where you don't, then you shouldn't even go out there. And I'll guarantee you these guys here want to win. And there is something to that, too. And I think it's more important for a team. Here's what you were talking about right here, the 4-0 teams. And you see what they did in the regular season. I think that's more important for a bad team or a team with a new coach or a new system or a new defensive coordinator. Anytime you have something new, you want to prove right off the bat that it works.
And then if you have a veteran team and a veteran staff, like for Marv Levy, he could care less. And Marv's Bills had terrible preseason records and went to 4 Super Bowls in a row. Flag is thrown. Mock starts to take off and takes it down to the 32-yard line.
I think that's what the Broncos like about Mock is anytime you're any quarterback, the way and the Redskins are blitzing more tonight than I thought they would. I thought they were going to stay more vanilla, but they are blitzing and using fire zones and zone dogs and those kinds of things.
Formation offense. Number 82 was not on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
But anyway, when those types of things happen, the quarterback has to be able to run, and that's what Matt Mock can do a little.
One reason the Redskins are doing that tonight is their new defensive coordinator. I guess his title, though, is assistant head coach defense, and that's Greg Williams, who was the head coach at Buffalo for the last 3 years. Greg Blosh has the title of defensive coordinator. And Williams is known as an aggressive defensive coach, 2nd and 13. And that is caught. Charlie Adams takes the hit but holds on to the ball. But every year, of course, John, when there's a new defensive coordinator, they all come in and the players say, oh, we love this. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to blitz like crazy. We're not going to read. I'm waiting for a defensive coordinator to get a job and say, you know what? We're going to have a read and react defense this year.
Or we're going to be less aggressive. Have you ever heard anyone, defense, we're going to be more aggressive on defense this year. Have you ever heard anyone say,
never.
Last year we're a little too aggressive, so we're going to pull back on our aggressiveness and we're going to play passively this year. Everyone's going to be more aggressive.
That would be a scoop. 3rd down and 1. Hand it off. Coming around is Adrian Medice. Seen a lot of action tonight. He's caught a couple of balls. It's his first run. Has had several others thrown to him, and under 6 minutes remain in the period with Washington on top 10-9.
I think Medice is in a fight for probably that 4th wide receiver spot because Rod Smith is going to be 1. Ashley Lilly will be 2. Darius Watts will probably be 3. And then you're going to go to Triandis Luke or Medice or one of those guys to be the 4th and 5th.
And as of a few hours ago, as far as I know, Tim Brown is still out there. Brown let go by the Raiders last week, and then there was a spate of stories and another flag here. The Broncos might be interested in him. And when Mike Shanahan coached the Raiders, he actually had Tim Brown
number 69
as a rookie.
10-yard penalty. Repeat first.
And then a few years ago, or maybe it was many years ago now, they signed him to an offer sheet.
They did.
The Broncos did, and the Raiders matched it.
They did. I believe, I'd have to look that up. Wade Phillips was the coach. Wade, in the 2-year period between the time Dan Reeves left and Shanahan took over, so it might have been under the Phillips regime, but Tim Brown had signed with Denver, and then Oakland had to match, and they did.
I think the way things are going down in Miami, the way they're losing players and David Boston and guys walking off and retiring and all that stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that wouldn't be the #1 place on Tim Brown's list.
And also went with Tampa Bay, his old coach, John Gruden. Bruce Allen is down there right now in the front
but they can
office.
only take so many guys. I mean, doesn't it seem like those guys have been signing everyone? At some point, they have to run out of dough or something, don't they?
You would think.
I mean, they've really, you just think of that team that they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and look at the turnover on that group.
And now Jaravicius is injured, so there may be a spot down there. 2nd down and 8. Amon Galloway is in the backfield, in there to protect, but not very well as the quarterback Mock goes down again.
And that's where you have to have the clock in your head that Mock didn't have. I mean, he went there and he pumped twice, and once that backside rush starts to come, you have to feel it. So he's going to get the pressure from back here. Now, right now, he has to do something. He either has to throw that ball or he has to get his hat and get out of there. I think maybe he's trying to. But see, right now, he has to feel it now and step up and get out of there. Of course, it would help if the offensive line would block a little better, then he wouldn't have to do any of the above.
A little. 3rd and 21 at the 35-yard line. Laundry again. Pass dropped by Medice. Talking about Miami, John, the one guy that's going to be down there and they're going to take a look at is Antonio Freeman.
Yeah, but the thing that kills them is Ricky Williams leaving.
Illegal formation by the offense. The penalty is declined. Brings up 4th down.
Miami was a defensive team and a running game. And then when you lose your runner, then you're a defensive team. And, what else are we? Because they're not a passing team. I mean, they're not going to be, Dan Marino's not going to come back.
And you lose your runner on the eve of training camp, not like losing him in February when you can draft somebody or pick somebody up as a free agent or trade for somebody.
And the runner was a workhorse, too. I mean, that's the thing. You know, it wasn't one of those things where they used 2 or 3 guys by committee and just lost one on the committee. They lost the whole deal.
Hayden Epstein will punt, and John Simon is back to receive it. Good kick. Dims it inside the 5.
I was going to say he put something on that one, didn't he? That ball just hit and stopped right there.
41-yard wedge. John Lynch. We'll talk to him when we come back.
Let's get off the field right now. Yeah! Sooner or later, you're going to have to play football, big boy. Just snap the ball. Is this what you want? This belongs to the defense.
10 yards has never seemed so far. Now you will fear the D. Madden NFL 2005, rated E for everyone. EA Sports.
Tonight football being brought to you by Aspen Edge, arguable the best low-carb lager. FedEx Kinko's, your one stop for copying, printing, and shipping. And Subway, living well and eating well, is about making choices. We're glad one of them was Subway. Choose well. Some of the exhibits next door. Inside the Hall of Fame as Tim Hasselbeck comes in at quarterback. We saw some action last year. McCullough picks up about 6. His brother, of course, is the quarterback at Seattle, and we check in with Michelle.
Well, I'm here with John Lynch, who was a Tampa-based staple for so many years, now with Denver. But interestingly, Barry Sanders invited you to induction ceremonies yesterday. What did you think when you got that invitation?
I was sitting at home, and I got the letter, and I opened it up, and I kind of laughed with my wife. You think he's thanking me for helping send him there because he did pretty good against the Bucs in the years. But really, Barry just said he thought we had some great competition against each other and wanted me to be there, and I took it as a tremendous honor.
Well, you know, he said he had a healthy respect for you, but let's take you back to a play. October 12th, 1997, Detroit. Take a look at the monitor there, John. This is Detroit at Tampa, and of course, there's Barry.
Oh, boy. I played for the Broncos then, didn't I? That's a different 47. No, the guy, I tell you what, the guy was something to play against. Best player I've ever played against, and it was such a awesome experience to be a part of that, the induction ceremony the other day. I think every player should one time go and hear that, and the respect and love that these great players have for the game.
Oh, and so many people in Tampa Bay have respect and love and still do for you. What's it like to be leaving there and coming here at this point in your career?
Well, right now it's real exciting. In this league, you've got to move forward, and I had great years in Tampa. The people there were great to me. The organization was great. We won a Super Bowl. We turned a franchise that was really bad into a Super Bowl winning franchise. I have nothing but great years there, but now I'm in a new place, and I'm real excited.
Well, they had some concerns about your neck, perhaps. You had this neck surgery in January. People say it's doing okay. What do you say? How's it feeling?
Well, I say it's doing great, too. You know, you can hear doctors tell you you're going to be all right, but until you get out there and hit someone, you don't know. And during camp, I've got my licks in, and I'm feeling great. So I'm really excited about playing healthy again.
You know what it takes to put a Super Bowl defense together and what a Super Bowl defense should look like. What is it going to take for Denver to get to that spot?
Well, I think we've got all the makings of it. We've got to do just what we did in Tampa, and it's the intangibles. It's running to the football. It's wanting to be great and demanding it out of each other that makes you special. And as I said, I think we have a great opportunity to be special here.
They're excited to have you. Good luck, and take care of that neck.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right, let's send it back up to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, as McCants makes the catch. You know, I'm listening to John. We've known him for years. He's a California kid, grew up in Southern Cal, went to Stanford. He spends 10 years down in Tampa. He gets a little bit of a Southern accent. You notice that?
Yeah, you know, he's such a classy guy. But that does happen to you. You know, when you play in a Southern team and you're from someplace else, you start to pick up that kind of talk, and that happens to players all over. It happens when they go to college too.
Just a little bit,
yeah.
Hasselbeck throws, almost intercepted by their #1 draft choice, DJ Williams, the linebacker out of Miami.
Hasselbeck's pass incomplete.
Imagine they had DJ Williams and Sean Taylor on that same defense. That's not bad.
I mean, Miami had great players. I mean, they had great players all over the place. I think there's 8 or 9 of them off last year's team that are in the NFL now. And DJ Williams, I remember him back from high school. He played at De La Salle High School, in Concord, California, won 152 straight games. I saw him in high school as a running back and thought that he could go right into the NFL.
And then they moved him to linebacker.
And then they moved him to linebacker. In fact, you know, it's none of my business, but I called Butch Davis, who was a coach at it, and I said, "Hey, Butch, you got to play this guy at tailback." I said, he's a great running back. I mean, he could play in the NFL right now. And I didn't know that he had guys like Clinton Portis and all those other guys there.
Right.
But this guy was something special, and he was a very, very special.
Sweet dreams.
Get that binky out of there.
10:35 at night.
Then you deserve a binky.
Yeah. Dad's got you the game. You deserve the binky. 3rd down and 3. Flags.
Talking about the binky, your grandson, Aiden, must be coming upon a year.
August 12th. And
August 12th. My grandson, Aiden, was yesterday a year. It was a year ago at this time where
the ball was snapped, ball start, offense, number 69. 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Happy birthday to all Aidens.
Right, all the Aidens.
Here was DJ Williams, John, talking about the fact he was a good running back, and you can see some of it in evidence here on a fake punt.
Yeah, that was the thing. He was the up back on the punt coverage there, and that's about the only time he got to carry the ball. He had the number 17. He had a lot of things going for him there, and then of course, the Broncos must have really liked him because they made him their #1 draft choice, and they need a linebacker, and he's the guy they want to build their linebacker defense over.
3rd down and 8. Nice catch. Will he get the 1st down? And that's John Simon rolling forward, stayed in bounds, and gets a 1st down, but there's a flag.
Is it my imagination, or has there been an inordinate amount of flags?
Well, for a first preseason game, let's see, there have been 19 accepted penalties tonight. This would be 20.
I think there's been 30.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, 19, 20, and then 10 more that weren't accepted.
The penalty is declined. The play results in a 1st down.
You know, we knew that they were going to, call more of those defensive holding penalties against defensive backs and linebackers, and that hasn't been a big thing. It's been the other assortment of penalties.
Very rarely is the first preseason game one devoid of penalties. It's pretty much par for the course. 1st and 10. Hand the ball off to McCullough. Well, you saw it. I don't have to say it.
You know, we saw a counter tray there. We said, the Redskins and offense.
10-yard penalty, repeat 1st down.
You always think of 2 tight ends, and I said we're going to see a lot of that. And the other thing we're going to see is a lot of counter tray, and they've been running it all night. Now, what they do, again, is they counter this way, and they're going to come back this way. They pull this guard and this tackle. They come here, and then they run it back here and seal this backside. So see the old guard and tackle? Now they're pulling the H-back and the guard. But they always seal 1 guy of 3 on the backside and then pull 2 towards the side of the counter tray.
You are in mid-season form.
I don't know about that, but I mean, that's the thing. When you see Joe Gibbs, you know it's his team. You know you're going to see that play.
3 quarters gone in the Hall of Fame game. Canton, Ohio. Washington 10. Denver 9. Monday Night Football back after this message from our ABC stations. Al Michaels with John Madden and Michelle Tafoya. Monday Night Football coming your way from Canton, Ohio. The Hall of Fame game as we start the 4th quarter. ESPN is Sports Center. It's regular time with all of the day's news. News not particularly good for Washington tonight, in as much as they've lost John Jansen, the right tackle, possibly for the season. Achilles. 1st and 20 now from the 17-yard line. Hasselbeck's the quarterback. A screen set up. McCullough. John, when Gibbs was talking about he wasn't happy with the offense, the one guy he signaled or singled out was Hasselbeck. You know, I always think when a coach has 2 quarterbacks, he's got Brunell and he's got Ramsey, and one of them will be the starter, and you start talking about your number 3 guy. Are you sending a signal to the other 2 guys?
Well, I think what he was doing is he was just thinking about those 2, like you said. I mean, he was thinking, okay, I gave Brunell this money. I went down there and signed him.
On both teams on the play. Holding defense number 23. There was also offensive pass interference blocking downfield by the offense. Number 27. The penalty's offset. Replay first down.
That's a mouthful.
Boy, where were we?
But anyway, I was saying that, you know, he knew. I mean, he went and got Mark Brunell. Patrick Ramsey had been there. It was #1 draft choice. So kind of thought there'd be a competition between those 2 guys. And he was just watching those 2 guys. And then he said he started seeing this other guy. And he said he was making plays and making throws. And he said, who is that? Who's doing that? And it was Tim Hasselbeck. So I don't know if he's trying to send a message or if that was just his way of saying that, you know, I know I have 2, but this other guy impresses me too.
Another flag. And part of it, too, could be, you know, working the media, because if you say something more favorable about one quarterback than the other, then everybody, you know, jumps on it, and that becomes a story.
Number 18 was in the backfield, leaving the left tackle uncovered. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
I'm doing a basketball game in December with the Lakers, who start out 18-3. And this is when Shaquille is healthy, Bryant's playing well, Karl Malone's playing well, Gary Payton's off to a pretty good start. And I asked Phil Jackson, I said, so who's your best player so far? He goes, Devin George. And that's when I know he's just sending a message.
Yeah.
His bugle on the last play. Looks like us.
You know, offensive line coaches just live and die with pass protection. They live and die with a play that they don't get a penalty on. I mean, they live and die with what those 5 guys of theirs do. The center, the 2 guards, and the 2 tackles. There's the old counter tray that broke. Pulled the offside guard and tackle that time again.
The crowd's very excited. You've got the Bronx cheer because there's no penalty on the play.
Let's watch that counter tray again. You take a step this way, and then the back comes this way. You get 2 guys pulling back here. One kicks out, and the other will lead. You see the counter? There's the 2 guys leading. Boom, boom, right there, and he cuts off that. That's not a bad. It's not a bad old counter tray.
Hail to the Redskins.
Joe Gibbs brings it back. All he needs is John Riggins running it.
Fight for old DC. You know, Joe comes back with, you know, he's got plays like 40 gut and 50 gut, which would be the diametrically opposite terminology from the fun and gun over the last couple of years.
I'll tell you another thing. Look at that thing he has in his left hand, that yellow pad and the clipboard. That goes back to Don Coryell. Joe Gibbs coached with Don Coryell in, let me see, 1964 and 65, and Don Coryell always had that clipboard and notepad.
And that pass to McCants is incomplete. Speaking of Coryell, well, Joe Gibbs was on the staff at San Diego State as an assistant. And, of course, he had to report to another guy. and the other guy is John Madden, who was an assistant coach. And then Joe Gibbs comes in as a graduate assistant.
Right, and we worked well together. I was a defensive coordinator, so when I would coach a defensive line, he'd coach the linebackers. When I'd coach the linebackers, he'd coach a defensive line, and I knew right off the bat that this guy was something special. I mean, as a coach and as a student and as a man.
He said you were most impressed with the hamburger runs that he used to make for you.
Said one time he forgot to bring the condiments, and he couldn't believe I would get so upset about that. But you can't bring a burger to a man and not bring ketchup and mustard.
How can you be a coach and overlook something like ketchup and mustard?
I don't know. He did, and he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And he couldn't believe how crazy I went.
Denver has the ball after Kevin Stemke's 69-yard punt for the Redskins, and the new quarterback is Mike Quinn. Quinn, the fourth quarterback, 5 different teams in 7 seasons. Last with the Houston Texans. Going to back up throughout his career, trying to win the number 3 job here. As Ahmad Galloway with a nice gallop to the 25, and we check in with Michelle again.
Well, he started 4 Super Bowls for the Minnesota Vikings, made 6 Pro Bowls. They still call him Moose, and congratulations on being inducted. You did not want to have to lobby, but you ended up writing letters to Hall of Fame selection committee members, the broadcasters, the writers. What did you tell those people?
Well, basically, I just showed them, I said, hey, you know, I know it's a hard selection decision, and I'd like to be in. I think I deserve to be in, and here are my stats, and hopefully you'll vote for me. Was there any particular response that you got that touched you? Actually, I got some right away, and some guy said, I've been voting for you all this time, and I'll vote for you again. And others said, you know, I'll hold my reserve, but I'll vote for you. You've got my vote. But, you know, it's a tough deal. I understand. I appreciate it a lot more now. Well, what you did when you got up with your acceptance speech is that you used it as a platform to reach out to young African-American men. What was the one point you really wanted to make to these young people? Well, one is that they're not forgotten, and they're needed. They're a big part of this country, and it seems like they have been lost or left out. And I want them to know that they're included, and we need them. I mean, they got to step up to the plate. It was a speech that wowed a lot of people. Congratulations, Carl. All right, thank you, Michelle. Al, he got the nickname Moose in high school, and it's followed him all the way here to Canton.
Congratulations to Carl Eller of the Purple People Eaters, a man not only known for what he could provide in terms of a pass rush, but he had a nose for the ball, as they say. 23 career fumble recoveries.
And he was tough against the run. You know, like you say, he was a pass rusher. And look, he wasn't the biggest guy, but he knew how to play with leverage and strength. He was a very, very strong and very, very good run player. He was very good at anything he did.
3rd down and 3. Quinn's going to pack it in, seek the first down, and get jarred by Brown. Almost an Elway-type helicopter. Rufus Brown. Sent them upside down.
They sent him topsy-turvy. Watch this. He goes to get hit, and he gets spun around, turned backwards, and then ends up forward. That's head over heels. Heels over head.
Yeah, I never understood head over heels.
It's heels over head, right?
It should be.
Yeah.
Hayden Epstein.
Redskins got too many men, Abe. He got off.
Epstein did well. Here we go again.
5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Delay a game.
How could there be a delay a game on that? What were they waiting for?
I don't know. I mean, it was
Mike
the Redskins.
Shanahan has to be saying the same thing. Yeah, the Redskins had 12 men on the field.
Yep.
And obviously they wouldn't wait for him to get off the field. Redskins got one more coming on now with his hat off.
Well, this is what you're reduced to with special teams play in the first preseason game in the 4th quarter. 34-yard line, Gary Scott. Up to the 44-yard line.
Fielded by Scott.
Redskins leading by a point with 9:35 to go in Canton.
I want to use this platform to help young African-American males to participate fully in this society. If the future of America is to be strong, you must be strong. You must hear the cries of our forefathers and pick up the fight that has helped to make this country great and help make it what it is today.
Carl Eller here yesterday in a very eloquent speech. Sultan McCullough carrying the ball for a first down into Denver territory to the 43-yard line.
Picks up the first down.
Carl Eller. Bud Grant's Minnesota Vikings wreaking havoc up front. Alan Page is in the Hall of Fame.
We're playing the Minnesota Vikings one year up in Minnesota. We're on the goal line. I send in a play 65 lead man, which is a play to the left. For some reason, my quarterback, it doesn't make any difference who it is, decides that he sees something on the right and he wants to change it from 65 to 64. Instead of running to the left, he wants to run to the right. And he runs it right into Carl Eller. Carl Eller blows up our tackle, stuffs the run. We don't score, we lose.
And you say?
I told you not to run at Eller.
You got to tell me who the quarterback is.
No, I'm not going to say who the quarterback was.
It wasn't the snake, was it?
But the thing is, I mean, that's the thing that I remember. You know, you look at Carl Eller, you see the highlights in the pass rush and all those things, and I remember him as being so tough and so strong in the goal line that when you got down there, you wanted to stay away from that side.
Very interesting what he said to Michelle about kind of running his own campaign. He was his own campaign manager to get them to think about him.
Well, you know, like Bob Brown. I mean, they were two guys that are now in the Hall of Fame and were passed over for many, many years.
3rd and 1 at the 35-yard line. John Simon appears to be a little short. There's a little irony here about Eller. We talked about the fact he recovered 23 fumbles. He scored 1 touchdown in his NFL career. It was in his rookie year. It was at San Francisco. And you talk about something that everybody will forget. Less than a minute later is when Jim Marshall recovered that fumble and ran the wrong way in that classic play in San Francisco.
Right. It wasn't Carl Eller the guy that caused the fumble.
He caused the fumble.
Marshall, I think he did. He caused the fumble. Jim Marshall picked it up and ran the wrong way.
Right. That came right after in his rookie year. He had scored his only touchdown. And then all anybody remembers is Marshall. And, well, either Ed Hockley has to see an ophthalmologist or our yellow line was just a little bit off right there.
There's LeVar Arrington. I talked to him about a month ago after Joe Gibbs got the job, and he was really enthused about it. He said, you know, he's had like, you know, every year he'd have a different coach, a different coordinator, and the thing that he said that Joe Gibbs is bringing here is stability. You know, that's what the Redskins need. They hadn't been stable. I mean, there've been, you know, just revolving doors of coaches and systems and people coming in and out. And he just wants it just to kind of stay the same for a while.
1st and 10. Going deep, fingertip catch is made. Touchdown scored by the Washington Redskins' Gary Scott.
I think that's what Joe Gibbs was talking about. He sees a play and he says, hey, who threw that? And here it is, Hasselbeck.
33 yards.
He's going to beat Stevens right here. And again, he can't touch him there, although he did grab him. But once you get by that guy, you have a free run. And all the quarterback has to do is get it up over your outside shoulder. Hasselbeck makes a heck of a throw there. Scott makes a heck of a catch. I think that's what Joe Gibbs was talking about. He said these plays come from this guy, and you know, I'm talking about Brunell, I'm talking about Ramsey, and this Hasselbeck is doing things like that.
Gives his squad's first offensive touchdown. Ola Kimron for the extra point. There's your first John 316 of the season. We've got it all tonight from Canton. Redskins 17, Broncos 9.
This is our house. Everything you
you have trained for your entire life has prepared you for this moment. It's us versus them. All I want to talk about is how big they are, and that this is the year they knock us off. Well, when they come in here, they got to play our game in our house, and nobody beats us in our house. We must protect this house.
So next Monday, there's no game, but the following Monday, we're back with you. We'll be in Kansas City as the St. Louis Rams come in to take on the Kansas City Chiefs, and ESPN's football schedule will start preseason terms on Thursday night with the Baltimore Ravens in action against Atlanta. Kick is run back here by Rock Alexander, and the Broncos are down by 8.
Rock Alexander
with 6:46 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Goodyear blimp hovering high above Fawcett Stadium in Canton, Ohio. I'm not sure high above, but it's above. You get the idea. The puppy looks like it's at about 2,000 feet.
Look at all the hash marks in this game. You got pro hash marks, high school hash marks, and college hash marks.
A lot of action in this stadium. Some small college football, a lot of high school football. Flag comes in at the end of this play.
Quinn's pass.
And Quinn, the quarterback.
Broken up by Stevens.
What you have is the pro hash marks are the closest ones to the center of the field, and then next college, and then the high school hash marks are on the far outside.
There was no foul. The action of the play was legal.
So even when there's no foul, there's a flag.
We had a shot of that flag coming in proudly. There's a Cornell Green, isn't that something? A Cornell Green playing right tackle. And remember the old Cornell Green that was a defensive back for the Dallas Cowboys? He's a scout for the Denver Broncos. And I saw him at practice the other day.
Second down and 10 now from the 42-yard line.
Cornell Green, the tackle, almost got his quarterback hit on that one.
Galloway makes the catch, and Ralph Brown, the former Giant, makes the tackle. Denver, they have to answer a question about the successor to Clinton Portis. Quentin Griffin saw a lot of action early on. It was very impressive. And then Mike Anderson is the other guy in the mix here, at least at the moment. Only 11 yards, 7 carries. Remember, Tatum Bell, the rookie, had a fractured finger, but they really like him, and it's possible that he could ascend. And that's caught. It's Nate Jackson reaching up for it.
Right, and the other guy would be Garrison Hurst, who they brought over here from the San Francisco 49ers.
It's the system under Shanahan. Terrell Davis comes in, 6th-round pick, and was spectacular in his short career. Then Olandis Gary had a 1,000-yard season. And then they had to go to Anderson when Gary got hurt, and he had a 1,000-yard season. And then Portis in 2 years rushed for over 3,000 yards.
I think according to Shanahan, I mean, the plan would be that Quentin Griffin will be the starter and Mike Anderson would be the backup, and then you'll see where the other guys fit in. But I think that's his plan. I think he's already decided that.
Quinn on a keeper on 4th down and 1 moves the change with 5 minutes to go in the 4th. Here's Michelle.
Quentin Griffin had a nice night tonight, guys, and obviously Barry Sanders had a wonderful weekend. Quentin Griffin grew up watching Barry Sanders quite a bit, and one of the reasons that he liked Sanders is because, as he put it to me, Barry wasn't real big, and of course Quentin isn't real big either, so he enjoyed watching him for his small size. It encouraged him, made Quentin believe that he could do something as well on offense. Although, John, you were reluctant to refer to his moves Barry Sanders like, but a lot of people said to Quentin when he was young, you run like Barry Sanders, and his response was, that's a nice compliment, but nobody runs like Barry Sanders.
No, and that's why I wanted to bring it back, Michelle, because I wanted to say right after I said that, but he ain't no Barry Sanders. There's not a lot of Barry Sanders wandering around on the face of this earth.
On 2nd down and 1, Ahmad Galloway picks up the first down.
But, you know, sometimes a guy makes a move that looks like a move that Barry Sanders made, and that's what you mean. I remember 2 years ago, Jeremy Shockey, you know, made a move, and I said that's like a Mark Bavaro. Well, I didn't say he was Mark Bavaro, but he ran over guys just like Mark Bavaro ran over guys.
Yeah, it makes it easier for them to rip you, right?
And I said that someone looks like Joe Montana. They're not Joe Montana.
Right.
Tom Brady reminds me a lot of Joe Montana.
So you have to be real careful and parse words.
Galloway.
Portis. Barry Sanders like?
Yeah. He can. The thing that he can do, though, is he has such great speed. I mean, he has those moves on moves, and then Portis can run faster than anyone. But there's no one that made these moves like Barry Sanders. No one.
Speaking of parsing words, there was Clinton. 1st and 10, and taking it straight up the middle is Santonio Beard for a gain of 8.
Santonio Beard.
Yeah, you look at Clinton Portis over there, and when he first came to the Broncos, they wanted him to run just like that. You know, take one move and take it straight up the field. And Clinton Portis said, that's not the way I run. And they adjusted to him rather than him adjusting to them.
Timeout Broncos. Washington on top by a score of 17-9. And the last time Joe Gibbs was coaching, if they gave up a touchdown, they had no choice. They had to kick the extra point. But since Joe's retired, of course, the 2-point conversion has come in.
So are you saying if the Denver Broncos score, you think they'll go for 2?
Well, we know they're going for 2. 2nd and 2. And Ahmad Galloway, you know, it'll be an interesting thing. They'll have to, because coaches don't want to see overtime in a preseason game. I mean, you've gotten enough out of it. The 4th-string guys are in. You don't want anybody else to get hurt. But then the league office would be screaming at you if you didn't go for 2.
No, I didn't mind a overtime in a preseason game as long as it were an early preseason. You wouldn't want one the last preseason, but you know, you have rookies, you have young players, you want to get them work, and they get work in these kinds of situations. It's really not that bad.
From the 16-yard line, the mighty Quinn takes it to the 13.
They're talking about the things that, you know, Joe Gibbs was saying they didn't have the quarterback headset, the 2-point conversion, or instant replay the last time.
But they did have the 2-minute warning, and we're at it. Coming up next, the Autotrader.com post-game show. That's cute. Clinton Portis uniform, and maybe that's his sister in a Champ Bailey uniform.
Yeah, and it's awfully late to be that cute, isn't it?
Right, and those are the old uniforms. It's pre-trade.
That's what they used to be. Here's what they are.
So with 2 minutes to go, it's 2nd down and 7. Denver down by 8 and driving. Ball at the 13-yard line. And Quinn throws, and that's going to be a 1st down as the catch is made by Nate Jackson. And he takes it to the 6-yard line.
You know, there's a guy that's been around for a while and everyone likes. I remember when he was with the 49ers, Nate Jackson. He was a Bill Walsh find. And the 49ers didn't have a place for him, and they let him go, and he came here to the Denver Broncos, and they're trying to find a place for him. Everyone's always liked him, but he's never found a job.
Tonight's game from Canton, Monday Night Football, being brought to you by TGI Fridays. Cut the carbs, keep the flavor with their bigger, better Atkins-approved menu. Lowe's, where you'll find all your home improvement needs. Lowe's, improving home improvement. And new Castrol GTX startup motor oil. Good to be back with the gang. Fred Godelli and Drew Esikoff. Our illustrious producer and director, our director of information, Steve Hurt. Georgie Hill is back for his 19th year, and Malibu Kelly Hayes, who moved out of Malibu about a dozen years ago, still living in Aspen.
Malibu Aspen Kelly Hayes.
Oh, no. Always Malibu.
Malibu, Kelly Hayes Aspen.
The world renowned. First down and goal now after the timeout. Ball at the 5-yard line. And Galloway looking pretty good right there as he got hit at the line of scrimmage and was able to plow forward.
He got hit by a blitzer coming off the slot. Who would have thought he'd be coming from there?
Galloway's second year back out of Alabama. Little roll and a touchdown as Jeb Poussier, one of their tight ends, makes the catch for the touchdown, and now Shanahan will go for 2 to try to tie it.
You see Shanahan, he got mad there because he said go for 2, and I'll bet you someone said so, no, let's not do it. And he said, baloney, that's the way you play the game, and he's going for it. And they've been running bootlegs all night, where you fake to the back one way, then the quarterback comes out the other way, and then gets a tight end going on and out. That thing has been open against the Redskins all night. It started off, Jake Plummer started throwing it, then Danny Cannell threw it, then Matt Mock threw it. Now we got Mike Quinn throwing it. Here's a big play, Al.
You betcha.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Spread it out. Quinn throwing. Caught. Charlie Adams for the 2-point conversion. Broncos going down the field and picking up the deuce.
Washington 17.
And Quinn looking good on that drive.
You know, with John Elway going into the Hall of Fame, this was a big John Elway play. Remember, they used to get down there and he would do a couple things. One, he would either sprint out like this or he'd run a quarterback draw. Here he just comes out, he just sprints out to the outside. He has an inside receiver and an outside receiver, and he hits the inside guy. See Quinn come out here like this, get outside the tackle, get outside the pocket, have 2 receivers to the side of your sprint. We've seen a lot more blitzing in this game. You know, we talked about the penalties and all the penalties, but we've also seen it's kind of surprising to me for, you know, a first game, but that's the way football is today, and that's what Joe Gibbs was talking about, the difference coming back. He said the biggest difference is the pressure of the defenses. He just said the way they play now is blow and go defense, where just everyone is just going on every play, and we've seen both teams do that a lot tonight.
And you're right about it being unusual in the first preseason game. And these teams have only been in camp a week and a half or so.
You know, they started mini camps now in March. I mean, so on one hand, they've only been there a week and a half, and on the other hand, they've been doing this stuff for 3 or 4 months.
You've got blow and go in preseason now.
Blow and go.
Norris kickoff. Caught, dropped, picked up again. Jonathan Brewer from the 10. And that little misstep cost him any chance to get off a decent run back. Tonight's headlines: John Jansen hurt early, ruptured Achilles. Status to be announced, but it doesn't look very good. Sean Taylor seeing his first action, arriving late in camp. 2 picks, including a touchdown.
I really like Sean Taylor because coming into this, I knew that he was a hitter. I wasn't sure how his instincts were going to be against the passing game, but he shows on both these plays that he has very good instincts. I mean, here he reads and then quickly gets to a position to make the interception.
From the 13-yard line, 1st and 10. What a pass and a great catch down the sideline, staying in bounds. Jafar Williams, a rookie from Maryland.
Hasselbeck's pass.
That's Hasselbeck again making that throw, and this is a thing that Joe Gibbs does. I mean, you know, you think of the run, you think of the Hogs, you think of all those things, but he will take his shots on you. Here he goes, a form of maximum protection. Again, you can't touch the receiver after 5 yards, and he just runs right by the defender.
35-yard pickup, the ball near midfield at the 48-yard line with 1:15 to go. Hasselbeck throws underneath and dropped underneath by John Simon. So it'll be 2nd down and 10.
What Hasselbeck has to be thinking of now, or Joe Gibbs calling the plays here with Don Bro, is get a first down here. And then you get another first down, get in field goal range. That's your first goal now. And then, of course, Denver is trying to think somewhere on this 2nd down or 3rd down, we're going to have to come on a pressure. We're going to have to come on a blitz. We're going to have to knock them out of any field goal range.
Redskins have 2 timeouts. Hasselbeck throwing. Simon makes the catch, and he's brought down by his shoelaces by D.J. Williams. Under a minute now.
This is interesting. Larry Coyer is going to have to make a decision here. The Redskins go no huddle. Do you bring pressure or do you let him have time? Because with time, he can pick up the first down.
It's the 3rd and 4. And he got up there and he didn't like what he saw, and he calls a timeout. So that's a wasted maybe dozen seconds there. And you can see he's angry because he had to call it. Otherwise, they could have saved 12 to 13 seconds. Ola Kimron would be the guy who would kick the field goal.
Well, he better have a lot of more power in that in his leg if he's going to kick one from here.
Well, not from here. They need about 15 yards.
Well, that's right. They have to get. I mean, it's 3rd down, so I think that they have to be thinking in 2 downs. We have 2 downs here to get a first down. Now, I would think Denver, I think, would bring a pressure defense because they should be able to get, a first down in 2 plays here. So you have to knock them out of this area is what I'm trying to say.
Gibbs actually called that timeout from the sideline, and that's another little rule tweak this year. The head coach can call a timeout. Usually the player had to call a timeout. So now it's 3rd down and 4 from the 46-yard line. Rolling against the grain, and that's caught. Staying in bounds. It's McCants, and they're going to rule him out at the 26-yard line. And now you're looking at a 43-yard field goal if they don't gain another yard.
I like what Joe Gibbs is doing with his quarterback here. He's not just leaving him back in the pocket all the time. Here we see the route. It's just kind of a stop. You just run the guy up the field, and then you turn around. But instead of keeping the quarterback in the pocket and letting that pass rush come up, he's moving them around, getting them outside on the sprints, the rolls, waggles, those kinds of things. And they are in field goal range now.
Be a 42 or 43-yarder. If they don't gain another yard, of course, they got to watch the sack, too, because that was moving back a few and also losing yardage behind the line of scrimmage. Moves them back another one here as John Simon gets taken down.
I think the Broncos came with their pressure one play too late. And if you were going to do it, it should have been that 3rd down play, but they let him get outside the pocket and, and hit for that first down.
Now 2nd and 11. They huddled. They run it up to the line of scrimmage. Looked like a little confusion there. And then they give the ball to McCullough, and he gets taken down at the 21, and now they'll take a timeout, and they'll bring in Kimron to try to win the game.
He almost broke outside there, and had he broke outside and not scored a touchdown, the game would have been over, or regulation time would have been over.
Well, that was Simon, not McCullough. So in a situation in which if it was the regular season, John Hall has this job, he'd be the guy. But Kimron is the backup place kicker in training camp.
You talk about, we said earlier preseason games, and they say they're not important, they're not this and that. I'll tell you, to Kimron right here, this is very, very important.
May determine whether he gets a chance to latch on to another team this year. He's not going to get the job in Washington unless Hall got hurt.
No, but that's the way it is with kickers. I mean, they go to a team that has a good kicker, and then if they can do something in preseason, then they'll get picked up.
39-yard attempt. Kevin Stempke will do the holding. And Kimron just does boot it through. I mean capital J-U-S-T, to win the game.
The final score is 2004.
So Joe Gibbs picks up a win as he comes back to the Washington Redskins, who knock off Denver 20-17. Auto Trader postgame show coming up.
To the Autotrader.com postgame show. Here now, Al Michaels.
So the Redskins win the game as the preseason schedule opens in Canton. They beat Denver by a score of 20-17 at the gun on a Cameron field goal. Very impressive tonight. Sean Taylor, the 5th guy picked in the draft overall, interception and a touchdown. And a nice looking pass here caught by Gary Scott from Hasselbeck for a touchdown. Then Jeb Putsier, the tight end, scores. 2-point conversion was good. And the 2-pointer right here. Adams tying the game, and then Cameron for the field goal. We don't have the horse trailer in preseason, John, but Cameron would be on the horse trailer tonight with the field goal at the end. 20-17. Here's Michelle.
Joe Gibbs, congratulations. Some people don't think preseason is important, but how important was that final drive and field goal attempt?
Well, it was big for us. You know, Denver's a veteran group. We're just coming back. We were trying to get a win, doing everything we could. It was big for us, and so we're excited about the win. I think we may have lost one of our better players there, our best player, one of our best. So I feel bad about that.
Yeah, John Jansen went out early.
It looks like it's bad, and but you know, Lord bless us with a good night. We just got to make the most of it. Go on.
You had said often in camp that things were looking very rough on offense. How much smoother are they?
No, not a lot. We struggled. I thought Denver did a very good job on defense against us. Our defense kept us in the game, and then we finally made a couple of drives, but I'd say that, you know, we struggled on offense.
The rookie Sean Taylor stepped up and did a couple of nice things. How impressive was he?
Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor looked good.
Well, congratulations on the win. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's great being back in Canton. I really appreciate it, and all the fans here are great. It was great being a part of this, and thank you, Canton, for all you've done for us, and all the people out there, thanks, and we'll see how we go down the road.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks. Thank you.
Al, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And that wraps it up for the Autotrader.com postgame show. Washington knocks off Denver 20-17. 2 weeks from tonight, the St. Louis Rams will take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Preseason Monday Night Football. Your late local news next, except on the West Coast. And for now, from Canton, Ohio, Al Michaels. For John Madden, Michelle Tafoya, and our entire Monday Night crew saying so long. And this has been a presentation of ABC Sports Championship Television.